I can't believe Sam's the only one repping his gear.
I know, he called us out for that.
Hoosiers. I know. What the hell, guys? Like this
I
is this
have
is the
this.
stuff of legends. Oh, nice. That's
Is that a
pretty cool.
towel?
No, it's like a floor rug or something. I found it in my grandma's house.
That's super cool.
That's
I have
cool.
no idea what year it would be from, like potentially very old, but it doesn't have a date. It's
Love
the,
it.
it
Hoosier
says
fans are
the
coming out the woodworks.
Hurricane Hoosier Country,
Yeah, I see
Indiana.
this.
Did anyone else?
Wow, literally coming out the woodwork.
We've been talking since the 5th grade, and somehow we've got more to say. Beat kicks and faster rhythm. Inflation's high, the game's too steep. Stream wars rage while we lose sleep. Big tech's wild, the Fed's a mess, but let's start a party, I guess. Symposium, where tangents thrive. Old friends talking, the takes collide. Symposium, no wrong or right, just good conversation deep into the night. Yeah, we're still talking.
I don't know what you guys did. You guys watch the very end? Like after, like, did you stay watching once you won? Like, I felt like the coverage was. I felt like the coverage post your win was really bad. Like, they only showed Signetti and then they showed the interview with Mendoza, but like they didn't show the celebration. Like, it didn't feel like a team that had been the worst in college football just won the national championship. It felt like Alabama just won their like 10th national championship. It's like,
Yeah.
it's just another one. It's like,
Well,
it's not like this is a huge underdog story, and they weren't treating it like
I think the
that.
problem was that they weren't the underdog. They were
Yeah.
such an underdog. It felt like this, like it was not a surprise to anyone.
Yeah. That's kind of what I came to as well. It's like everybody kind of expected it, but still, that doesn't take away the
It's
fact
insane
that
that we
momentous.
expected it. It's insane that we got to the point of expecting
I
to
feel
win
like that's
the
what people
national
were saying
championship.
just the whole season. Like, can you believe it right now? Like, I use like number one as, even before the Alabama game.
To me, the biggest two like surprising moments of the season was winning the Penn State game on that. Like that was the top that and then beating Ohio State in the Big Ten championship. I feel like after that, then it was kind of like, all right, the expectation is that we're going to win every game forever.
The who was the first one they beat? Who did they beat before Oregon?
Alabama.
Texas Tech?
Alabama.
Bama.
First round Alabama.
I think that one was the one where the nation kind of got behind IU. I felt like the Ohio State game didn't make you guys look dominant. The Ohio State game was like, wow, that's an impressive win, but we didn't really know if Ohio State was good because they actually played no one this year. And so I was like, oh, IU looks good, but like I wasn't putting my money on IU to win the national championship going into the playoff. I was like, they have a shot. They were not like my favorite. I still think I had Ohio State as my favorite just because I was like, still give them credit for last year. They could have beat you guys. I'm like, I don't really know. And then you guys smoked Alabama. I was like, okay, I knew Alabama wasn't that good, but I thought they would have put up a fight, and they didn't. And then after Oregon, it's like, okay, IU's been national.
And like Ole Miss winning, like Ole Miss getting as far as they did, like all the good teams lost. Well, literally,
Georgia was the only team that I thought was going to have a chance to beat you guys, and they lost. So
the whole like, I'm not like super into sports all the time, but like the whole the transfer portal or the way that they changed the rules, like from an outsider's perspective, it seems like the reason IU won is 100% because the way they changed the rules of of the game, like players being able to be paid and being able to like train schools all the time. Half these kids are like 24 years old. So college football literally changed. And I think as a result, these institutional places like Alabama no longer have that edge of like everybody goes to Alabama if you're going to be the best football player. Now you can go to freaking Indiana because they got a huge endowment and they'll pay you money and like have a bunch of eyeballs on you. You know, so it's like, it's interesting because I think this year was really the first year that we see that like playing out in the playoffs where people's expectations are still like, damn, Alabama's a good school. Like, what happened? So I think everything people knew about college football is sort of out the window now. And I don't know what that means for like going forward fan bases and like, is this just the same exact thing as the NFL? I don't know that much about football. So like, what's going to happen to the game going forward as a result of, you know, the rules changes with paying players and transferring between schools and stuff?
I don't know that paying the players is the reason. Like, IU didn't get the best players by any means. And like didn't spend any more money than anybody else to get players.
You think it's Cignetti?
So yeah, I think there is so I think like the test for this will be next year in the playoff. Are there 3 teams that you would have never expected that somehow went into the portal and got the right team together and did a similar run? Obviously, we're very recent to this Indiana story. So it's like, can that be replicated, or was there something actually just like special about getting these right people at the right time together and it all just came together and was a perfect story? I tend to think you're still going to have the powerhouses. There's still a draw to go play for LSU. There's still a draw to go play for Notre Dame. Now Indiana's part of that conversation, but I still don't think I don't think it's going to become that common for these schools out of nowhere to all of a sudden go win the national championship. Like, that's going to be the norm. I think they have a better chance to do it because now they have access and people are willing to move around more. But so it's definitely changed the game, but I don't think that you're going to see this replicated this easily again.
Matt,
I think
what were you going to say?
I mean, I think you're both right. I think the paying piece isn't necessarily what changed IU's fortune, but the transfer portal changed their fortune because Cignetti brought all these guys with him, like 30 dudes that like had played for him and he had a connection with. In the old system, you couldn't have all those players transfer, and Cignetti would have then had to start recruiting and getting players from IU to be good. And who knows if that would have happened. He's obviously an amazing coach, so maybe he could have gotten the best out of them and they could have done something like this, but they got a Heisman winning quarterback out of it. I mean, the guy obviously is like Mendoza's a huge piece of that. They recruited him there in the transfer portal and got him. They were really good last year, but Fork wasn't as good as Mendoza. So it was a combination of getting the right guys. Like Austin said, they did not have the highest talented players by any means, but Cignetti is an amazing coach and got the most out of his guys and knew which guys he wanted for his system. And I actually was reading something about the Miami staff, their defense, their offensive coordinator is saying that the defense was doing stuff that he'd never seen before, and that they were disguising their defense, that like even when they were prepping for it, they couldn't really prepare well because the way their defense was schemed in a way is like they disguise it so well that like quarterback has to make the decision after the snap more often than not. Like, whereas most college defense
The last
schemes,
play of the game was a perfect example of that. I mean, if you're trying to get a little nerdy, safety on the last play, the interception, kind of is in the middle of the field, which leads the Miami quarterback to think, all right, I got a one-on-one coverage to my left here with a lone receiver. He's going to be covered one-on-one. And so he probably made up his mind pre-snap, all right, I'm going to throw it to this guy no matter what. You know, at worst it's a drop and we get to play another play. But like literally as the ball was snapped, like Matthew was saying, they were in a disguise where that safety was never going to be in the middle of the field. He was going to be over the top of that receiver as well. So then, yeah, exactly what Matthew's saying, that pre-decision by the quarterback of Miami is absolutely taken advantage of by the defense. And it's just a
huge
little
in
disguise right before the play, which is rare in college. Like advanced disguises, you don't see very often. Now, it's a valid question. Why not? Like that doesn't seem too hard, but it's just a very high level IQ defense that Indiana had when they don't have the best roster. Because you also watch the game, like Miami's defensive line were the best players on the field, offense and defense, and they
that number
destroyed.
4. What was his
Reuben
name?
Bain.
Yeah,
That guy's gonna be playing in the NFL for a long time. Like that's just pure
Welcome
talent.
to the Tennessee Titans.
Yeah, exactly. That's pure talent. But then they go up against a defense that knows they don't have pure talent, so they play smarter. It's actually a crazy, like the smarter team won this year. Like the less talented team won because they played smarter. At least that's kind of the route I look at it.
I heard somebody say, like, finally, like, IU's defenses looked good all this year. I thought that against Alabama. I thought that against Ohio State even too. But somebody said that this game was won by the defense, and it really was, I think, especially with that blocked punt. I don't know if you call that special teams or not, but that's interesting. I didn't know that people like disguise their plays like that, or that's unusual for college. I wonder why that is.
I think just the way they disguise it is different. They obviously defenses try to do that. They don't want you to know what they're doing, but apparently whatever this defense coordinator does is different than the rest of the country and how they disguise it, and they just make it very deceptive. And in college, that's huge. If like I'm sure they teach quarterbacks because these are college kids at the end of the day. They're still learning to do their job. And so I think a lot of times they're taught how to read a defense and say, if this guy's in this position, then you're going to look here because that is easy to
digest. They haven't gotten to that chapter yet.
Yeah, but like
maybe sometimes they're not.
Yeah, they don't have full control of the offense like maybe a pro quarterback does that has to kind of like read a defense, come up with what he might do, and then react. Whereas college quarterbacks don't have to react as much.
And to have an offensive line that can react with you fast enough. Like you see something happening live on the play where the safety is now covering the wide receiver. You've got to be able to communicate that like post-snap, I guess, what's going on, or do you just run your play like normal, like how you called it?
You either have to see something and call an audible beforehand, but in this case, you really can't because you won't know what they're doing.
Yeah,
and then you kind of have to, and then that's why teams love mobile quarterbacks because they have to be able to improvise, and if they can't find anybody open, they want them to run. That's why they like the mobile guys so much. But so yeah, I think I kind of think it was a perfect storm. I think they found the right quarterback. They found the right coach. Seems like these coordinators are great. Like they were crushing it.
They're paying them a lot of money to keep them, which is something that is kind of unusual.
But yeah, these random ass wide receivers are just studs. Like Becker not playing all year and then didn't drop a pass since like week 6 after he got in the game.
Maybe that's more of the story. Like I look at like Bryson DeChambeau, pretty much all sports today. These guys are in some lab getting like a machine training them to do the perfect swing, or like Tom Brady, slow motion body mechanics improving. Maybe they aren't going to spend as much money on the top talent, but are they spending more money than usual on like coordinators and people who are doing the training of these individuals?
Well, kind of one thing that's special about these coordinators, or at least what's happened with Indiana, is that basically coordinators on successful teams quickly get poached to become head coaches at schools that just fired their head coaches. That happened to Oregon. So Oregon playing Indiana, their offensive coordinator and their defensive coordinator had already taken head coaching jobs at one of them
during
went to Kentucky.
Season?
Yeah,
that seems like
literally
the
coach at Kentucky. Will Stein is the coach at Kentucky, but he's also supposed to coach or kind of run the game versus Indiana as Oregon's offensive coordinator before he technically has to leave, but at the same time he has to take care of stuff at Kentucky because he is now the Kentucky's head coach. So at Indiana it's different because for whatever reason, I'm not saying that they're not getting offers, I think IU is, and Curt Cignetti is saying to them, hey, what do you guys need to stay here? And we are fully invested in whatever number you put up. And
is it Cignetti
have done that. And Cignetti has a relationship with these guys for a long time. Like he's known these coordinators.
Is everybody
for a while.
staying because of him? Is he the real story here?
I do wonder.
Everybody's following this guy.
There does seem to be a glue. that is
He is the
happening.
glue. He's kept people. I mean, that's why everybody followed him. I mean, people knew that this was obviously, if you knew him, you knew that this was apparently in the realm of possibility that something amazing could happen.
They did
And you
lose
wanted to
one
be a part
coach,
of that.
or not a coach, but their strength and conditioning coach. I learned this today. It got poached by Tennessee. Like he didn't, not during the season, but he's leaving to go to Tennessee. But apparently he's one of the highest paid strength and conditioning coaches now at Tennessee. Like they are literally saying, we're going to pay you, we're going to reset the strength and conditioning market, I guess, and you're coming to Tennessee because of what you just did with Indiana. Crazy.
How about not losing? How about not fumbling for a loss since the first quarter of the first game of the season for over 1,000 snaps?
Yeah, that's
Like,
absurd.
Wait, they didn't lose a fumble all year?
No, not all year.
I didn't know
Since the
that
first
stat.
quarter, in the first quarter of the first week, they did, and then they went like almost 1,100 snaps after that without fumbling the ball. I
They
mean,
played pretty perfect. They played pretty perfect football throughout the year. The Penn
they
State
were
game
just
was the
so
only game
disciplined.
where they looked vulnerable, and they still pulled it out.
Yeah,
So, pretty amazing.
You think there'll be a movie made about it?
yeah,
Hoosiers 2?
for sure.
Yeah.
If
The
you're going to make a
revenge.
sequel, people would probably be like, fine.
They
It's a
will,
terrible
for
name
sure.
because Hoosiers
Somebody
1 is unrelated.
Hoosiers 2. But what else would you call it?
Yeah, seriously.
It just says I don't know. I think to what I was saying at the very beginning, it's too bad that I think everybody was in shock, but it didn't feel that way because you guys are the best team all year. It's just too bad. Like, I think maybe if you guys didn't have last season and this was more of a shock this season, I think people might have been like, "Oh my god!" Like I don't know. I just wanted to see the players celebrating. Like, this is just like a huge event, and I felt like I wasn't really seeing that. And they were just sort of talking to the coaches, and I don't know. Maybe I'm just too
I think
critical
they
of the
expected.
broadcast.
I don't know. It was like, I think for even them, it was so ingrained in them. You saw like how like Signetti could be winning by 50 points, and he's like pissed off until the last play of the game. I think that was just like the mentality that they have is like the expectation is that we are going to be perfect and win. And so then it's like, yeah, I'm sure they were very happy, but it's sort of like, okay, we did what we were expected to do.
Mhm.
So
I love it.
it wasn't,
I love that mindset, man.
you know
Just
what I mean? Like it wasn't this huge like shock, because the shock means like inherently means that you weren't prepared or you weren't expecting for it to happen.
Yeah, that was their
Which is
job.
unfortunate because I love like an unexpected like buzzer beater or something, you know, like where where there was like no shot, or like Donald Trump beating Hillary Clinton in 2016. Like that's an amazing buzzer beater moment.
Yeah.
And
I
that
remember
really
what
gets
Austin
me
was like
excited.
that night.
Even if you guys would have lost, I think, any game, maybe if you would have lost Ohio State in the Big Ten championship, then people might have been a little more shocked. I think it's the fact that you guys are undefeated too. It's just like, oh, okay, they're the best team. Like, this is expected, even though this is one of the worst teams in college football history up until 2024, 25.
Was there a lot of celebration among your guys' watch parties? Because I feel like my group had sort of a similar reaction. Like, it was like, yeah, we won, but it was like, all right, I'm going to bed. Like, that was awesome.
That's how ours was too.
Ours was a little more emotional. Like I was with my in-laws, and a couple people were mouth agape, just, oh my god, I can't believe we just did this. You know, because
That's cool.
what did Signetti say? I think in one of his post-game interviews before they started doing bad broadcasting, they did the interview with him. He said something like, "Can you believe that Indiana University just won the national championship?" Like, he said that right after the game. And at least my watch party was at least very appreciative of, oh my, OMG, what did we just do? You know, I think it's.
I mean, I
taking
had
a little
extreme FOMO that I was not there. Like that was very disappointing to me.
I did think that at one point. Most of the time, I was like, these suckers paid $4,500 for these tickets. And then at the very end, after they won, I saw some guy in like a cool, like old school Indiana, like Leatherman jacket. And I was like, oh, fuck. Like for the rest of time, he was there. He was at that game.
Like, that's going to be the one that even if they go win it again next year, and I'm there next
Yeah.
year, you're always going to talk about.
Yeah, at
this
that
one.
game. Yeah, that's true.
I am kicking myself for not betting Miami to cover basically I would think of it like this: how much money am I willing to lose for an IU national championship? And today I was trying to be honest with myself, like, okay, if I had done this correctly, I should have put in a $300 bet, because I would not do more than that, but like $300 bet Miami covers. Worst case scenario, they don't cover and IU wins. Okay, whatever, I'm out 300. They do cover, like last night would have been perfect, because I think the spread was 7.5. They don't, no, they cover, but IU wins. It would have been the best of both worlds. IU championship plus probably that would have paid out probably close to $1,000. Like that would have been a kick of myself for not doing that.
Justin's
That
the best gambler in the world in hindsight.
I do like that mentality, though. I lost all of my bets. I did like 4 different parlays, and after the fact, I realized all of them had an alternate spread of 13.5, which I think it was like 6.5. And so I took like a super big spread
I was about
on
to
like
say,
4 different
probably paid out
parlays.
really well if that would have hit.
If it did, I was at the end, after they got that interception, I was like, run it back, because then I would have, like, all of my bets would have hit. I think every single one. It was the difference between, like, I don't know, $600 payout and losing $90.
I had
it sucked. I wish I had done the opposite.
I had a friend who had put at the beginning of the season a $10 bet on it wasn't a parlay, it was just all separate. It was IU to win the Big Ten championship, or Fernando Mendoza to win the Heisman, them to make the playoff, and them to win the national championship. He made
How much
4
money did he
$10
make?
bets, and each of them paid like almost $1,000 because he got them
Jeez.
at like 1,000 to 1.
Imagine if you parlayed them.
And yeah, if you parlayed all of them, that would have been insane. But he just kept sending every time one of those happened, like the thing actually
That's
came
a cool
true, he
like
just
hype
send
tracker
it.
throughout the year.
Yeah.
Check.
It's like, you son of a bitch.
Wait, can I transition us gently from that comment about gambling? Do you guys think that there's like a gambling addiction in society? And, thinking about these gambling sites where you can bet on literally anything. Like, I don't know. Can we just talk about that for a second? It's craziness. Same thing with sports betting.
Kalshi and what's the other? Polymarket.
Polymarket.
Like
Polymarket.
everything that we've been talking about for a while they've been just gamifying the world. And now that gambling's legal, they've somehow, well, I mean, I know why. It's like Trump's in power, doesn't really care, but he's not gonna regulate it. But like something like that like Polymarket and Kalshi should be regulated immediately. That is just blatant insider trading that is absurd. And now you can gamble on almost anything. It is gambling. It's not investing. It's gambling. It's absurd. There's a lot of this, and like there was that one guy who bet on. I think we talked about in the last pod, right, where he bet on Venezuela being taken over, and they say it's because the pizzas or whatever. But you also could be a congressman that just goes on the website and is like, hey, I think Venezuela's going to get invaded tomorrow.
Goes into the group chat and is like, oh, fuck, guys, I think they're about to invade. You're like, okay.
People always say that people always speculate on X that it's Barron. Barron's just making hundreds of millions of dollars by betting on, like today there's a 35% chance that the U.S. will acquire part of Greenland in 2026. You can bet on who's going to become the next Fed chair. You can say, will Trump say certain words during his speeches in Davos?
I've got a wacky idea for you guys. What if I'm jumping all over the place, but this is, if I may, anybody have anything to say about gambling? Justin, sorry, I didn't cut you off.
Just imagine those models for Kalshi and Polymarket. They're making so much money because what if they just do a little fee, and they're just literally hosting
on every trade,
basically. So you cover your server costs, and you're just raking in cash. It's a crazy good business.
It's a VIG. It's like the casino.
Yeah, it's a casino VIG.
What does that stand for, VIG?
I don't know.
Now that's a good question, Sam. We just hear it
It's
called
a good
the VIG.
question
We
for
don't
our
question.
sponsor, ChatGPT.
Should I play that snowboarding video?
What does VIG stand for? VIG stands for vigorish. It's the fee or cut taken by the house, most commonly in sports betting and gambling. Built in. Yeah, it just stands for vigorish.
If you
I don't know
lay
where it
the
comes from.
10 in
Are you saying vigorous
craps.
or vigorish?
Vigorish.
Justin, you want to go play craps? I need to practice. You gonna go this
I
weekend?
know we actually do need to pick a date for the golf thing. We should do that maybe
It
next
comes
week.
from the Yiddish.
I don't know what you're talking about. What golf thing? What are you talking about?
The indoor golf thing.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, remember I was
Yeah.
going to book you guys at tea time.
Oh, I forgot.
You didn't go?
I do want to do that. All right, sorry, I derailed us there.
Anyway, so that's the VIG. It's a Yiddish term.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Gambling's not good for us. I think some people like ourselves can do it in moderation, and who knows? I don't know. Maybe you guys are degenerate gamblers behind public the public face, and maybe we're not
Do
all
you
good
use
gamblers.
Robinhood?
I did a long time ago, but I don't use it anymore.
Well, for
Yeah.
gambling, you're saying, right? Like for sports betting, like for their
You can do that.
prediction
No,
markets?
I was saying like the stock
Or for
market. Like I think
stocks.
that was the first gamification. That's when I remember people talking about gamifying, the world, I guess, but making the stock market fun. I feel like that was just gambling, and then sports betting came shortly after that, and now we've got politician action betting. What's next? I don't know. What can we bet
Cards.
on next?
Pokemon,
we
yeah,
talked about
literally
that.
what you showed
Yeah.
us on the 2 episodes ago, that insane website.
That's everything.
So new government structure idea, real quick. Insert this into the long timeline.
The futurist.
The futurist timeline.
No, you're the
People
futurist.
say exactly, yeah. People say so in the future, right? People say like spending your money is casting your vote, right? Like where you spend your money is what you're voting for. Have you ever heard that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Put your money where your
Voting
mouth
with your
is.
dollars.
Put your money where your mouth is. And now you've got things like who is going to be the next president of Venezuela, and you can literally vote with your money. And so it's sort of a way of like polling the public on its opinion. Now, there's all kinds of, like if you're using the US dollar, there's huge wealth imbalances, so people get more votes. But now just insert the idea of cryptocurrency and tokens on top of betting markets. And that's essentially where you've got a system where maybe there is equal votes, but there's also like financial gain to it. So I'm thinking of alternative ways to not just choose legislators, but also to legislate. Like, do you want to invade Venezuela? And then the public can then like choose whether or not we invade Venezuela.
With our wallets?
That would be wild.
When the
The
big
only-
donors just like run it?
I'm thinking the only positive of this
Not
is
an
it's kind
oligarchy?
of because like you say, they're starting to use these prediction markets as a more solid way of gauging public interest or public opinion on things. Maybe they'll eventually move towards, I mean, this is what people always say, but there's always caveats, but moving towards online voting. Like there's feels like the most accurate way to get as many people to vote as possible. If you can do it from your couch, you can do it. You don't have to get people to come in, you can.
And we've got biometric data now, like use
Yeah.
a face and a thumbprint.
Like, I mean, they're always going to claim that
We can't
there's
even get
something
states to
suspicious
force-
going on. I know, but I'm saying we're
ID
moving in this direction now. We're starting
True.
to use these poly markets to gauge interest. We say that these are the most accurate opinions now because people are putting their money
Yeah.
where they
Well,
feel strongly about, and so
what
maybe that's the
you're-
trend.
What you're actually getting to here is we are very quickly approaching the need for some way to verifiably interact with the internet as ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is going to be a super important thing that we figure out. That you somehow because there's going to be just trillions, there already are, of bots or AI or impersonators. Literally, did I send you guys the thing? My prediction already came true about content creators or influencers being replaced by AI. Literally right after that, saw a video of like this guy in Bangladesh or something, like was filming himself like doing a dance, and then on his computer screen is this like attractive woman doing the dance. That's totally AI. And so the joke there was that they're all going to have to go find real jobs now because the influencer economy's gone. But like we're going to have to find a way to know when we are truly interacting with someone or not, or when we are like ourselves.
I've been fired up about this since 2017. That's why cryptocurrency exists. Like, think about your data. People are like generally aware that their data is bought and sold and manipulated in algorithms, etc. There's going to come a time where we, the people, recognize the value that we have and demand to be paid for it. Right now, all of our data is taken and sold, and people make fortunes on it to the detriment of society. There's going to come a time where people take that power back. And the only way that they can do it is using some kind of online footprint where everything that you create digitally belongs to your wallet. And if somebody wants to use it for their algorithm, fine, let them use it. But you're going to be paid for it. Like, they aren't going to get it out of your wallet until you give it to them. And then it's up to you whether you want to create a bunch of data for very little or charge ridiculous prices and nobody ever buys it, you know? So that's 100% the way that we have to go. And then what further of a step is there than going into the actual simulation?
I mean, at that point, we've become one with the system. So I guess we've made it. You know, where there's like a small experiment of this already happening.
I'm just saying that's the direction we're going, you know? Like,
For sure.
it's part of
You
that
have to.
same
I think
story.
it's
Yeah.
so like X, formerly Twitter, if you remember, it has rolled out. It has verifications now, like, so you can pay $8 a month or whatever, and you can become verified. And then they're doing payouts to users who are verified. Like, if you get a bunch of views, you'll get payouts, and if you get interactions, and they're actually like paying a ton more based on the amount of interaction that you get from other verified users. So if you have more people following you or more people interacting with your content that are also verified, your payout rate like spikes a ton versus someone who just like gets interactions from potentially a lot of bots or just unverified people. So that's actually an experiment of like, they already are figuring out who are the real people and who aren't, and then treating that data from the real people differently, where you can actually like make money off of that data. Not really getting an option of whether you want to sell it or not, but at least you're getting something for it.
I wonder if YouTube's going to do that eventually as well, right? Because you could easily see that being transformed into, you know, if someone watches your video and at the end of the video you verify that you watched the video, and, you know, it's one of those captchas or I'm a human.
Well, you'll need some way of like a verification badge. So like if I'm Austin Truler on YouTube, like I need like a badge signifying that I have proven that I am the real person and I am a real person.
I don't think you need a badge. I
Right?
mean, you'd have to have the viewer complete something that confirms that they are not a bot. So
Well, no, but I mean like from the creator side of like me as a viewer, I may want to know that what I'm watching is actually a real person versus an AI person.
I wasn't going at it from that angle, but because like I don't have to log into my YouTube, but what if I watch the YouTube video and I complete that captcha at the end? Like, technically, I'm not a verified viewer, but the person who posted the video just got a verified view. You know, so maybe it's a little different in that sense, but I can easily see that coming to YouTube if they want to get serious about similar to what Twitter's doing.
I can solve this in 5 seconds. We create a login for the internet. I said this on episode 5.
You said this in several episodes, Sam.
Yeah. Put a blanket over everything that you do, and you don't get a login unless you're a verified human. It gets rid of all of the bots pretty much. And I don't know how you get rid of like the bots actually, because they're just algorithms running, but you know.
I think
you'd almost want to start fresh, like a fresh internet.
Well, so this is what Sam Altman's doing. This company he has called The World, or World, is the real human network.
Yeah, it's where they like
you have to go in, get your retina scanned.
Yeah.
And then you now you're part of the world, and you can interact based on like with, I don't even know what they're going to use this for, but kind of what we're talking about. It captures and processes.
I think we should make all of January our prediction episode, and I'm going to predict simulation becomes a popular topic in 2026.
This is about the time when you were talking about simulation
in 2025.
In previous
Matt, what were you going to say? What were you going to say earlier?
No, I'm forgetting what I was going to say. Oh, that's okay.
This is really interesting. You can buy one of these. I haven't looked at this website in a while. So they're selling these orbs that are the cameras that are scanning people's eyes. You can become a community manager, get one of these orbs, and then you can go around and start scanning people in to the orb network as a manager of it. And
You know
that's how they're
what?
gonna, I guess.
I think, well, to what Austin you originally said, and now we're gonna have to start logging in, or you're gonna have to verify yourself. And like you mentioned, they do it for Twitter or X. They do it for like adult sites now in certain states. It was a big deal. Like last year in Tennessee, they put like adult verification on like all like pornography and stuff, or like OnlyFans. Like you
A
have
lot of
to,
states have started doing that.
yeah, you have to now, like, if you wanted to access them, you would have to like scan your ID and submit it to the website. And I'm sure that's curbed people that shouldn't be viewing that sort of material from doing it. So it's already becoming a thing. If you're I think the certain social medias though don't necessarily want that. Like if you're I don't know. I'm surprised X did it, but like if you have a lot of like people who create like fake accounts and stuff because they like to be like parody accounts. Like if you like doing that sort of thing, people don't want to let you know who they are, you know, like that's part of the enjoyment of their platform is there's this anonymity and you can become someone else. And I think
You
that
can do
there's
that
an appeal
still.
to that. What do you
You
mean?
can still have those accounts. You can still have parody accounts and get them verified on X. Like
But
you just can't. But
someone
it's
knows who you
the
are
point
then.
of no. It's not. It's verifying that you're a human, not a bot. It's not verifying like the human that you are. So you could have
How do they
multiple
verify you
verified
on X
accounts.
then?
It's because you're making a payment. So their
Is it
assumption,
Yeah, it's almost
their
always
assumption
through
is,
credit cards, right?
yeah, you're giving them your credit card, and the assumption is you're not going to make 1 million bots and pay $8 a month for 1 million bots to get them
Give
verified.
your credit card though, so technically they know who you are.
X knows who you are. So like Greg, Greg with all the numbers on X. I don't know if you guys are on X.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like
very
somebody
popular.
knows who he is.
Yeah. I know who Greg is. Greg 16654242069.
He's all over.
I
Yeah.
don't know that guy, but okay.
I've
But here's
heard
this
rumors
thing.
that he's a bot though.
So you're saying then you'd have to pay essentially to verify. What if people like for the future, people aren't going to want to pay to use the
I know
internet?
you don't
think
want to
we're
have
ever
to
gonna
pay
force to that?
$8 for every. Yeah, you literally have to pay $8 for
I don't-
every website. So
It's
that you
not.
can be a
It's not the
verified user.
$8 that's deterring them. It's the fact that a credit card has to be tied to a person. So I think they're using the fact that there's a credit card as a way to verify that yes, it's Samson who is behind this account because here's Samson's credit card, and credit card companies don't give to people who aren't real. I don't know how it works if you're like an LLC or something and
Well,
bought a
like you
million
don't want
accounts.
to. You don't want to have to give a website to like or a credit card to every website that you want to interact with.
Well,
It's
I
probably
think there's
not
a lot
ideal,
of
but-
appeal to the internet, and I'm not one of these people, but you understand there's a lot of appeal to the internet is the way to be outside of the system and to have some anonymity. Like there are those people that feel that like internet's like the freedom. Obviously, it's very different than what it used to be, but that's what people liked about the internet. They could be free and not hindered by and being tracked. And now they're starting to lose some of that. So, I mean, I could see this becoming a thing and people allowing logins and to get on the internet, but I don't know if there's a big enough push from anyone other than maybe a couple of these websites like X because they can generate revenue from it.
We're pushing it right here, right? A Symposium.
I think let's
We'll
watch
push it in
this
the
1 minute
conversation.
video about World ID and learn together how this works because I'm very fascinated.
World ID is creating a priority lane for humans in the age of AI. It enables you to anonymously prove you're a unique human when using online services and apps. It is stored on your mobile device and can be used for many different applications. With World ID, you can verify that behind every social media user is a real and unique person, helping solve many related problems like fake followers, deep fakes, spread of misinformation by bots, and identity theft. With mini apps, you can do things like chat with and send crypto to friends, top up your phone plan using digital assets, create and run human-only polls, and play games with other verified humans. Ever miss out on concert tickets or merch drops to bots? World ID can ensure that only real people can make purchases and that everyone gets their fair share. Utilizing World ID's infrastructure, banks have the option to add a security layer which verifies that the person attempting to log in is the account holder. World ID could also help the distribution of financial aid by ensuring one individual can only claim or do an action the allowable amount of times. World is continuing to build more and more integrations for World ID to help humans in the age of AI. Get your free World ID. Download World app.
I mean, this is what we need. This is they're building the network that we need to interact with everything.
Kind of interesting to me though, like these guys obviously assume that they are going to be the ones that everyone uses. So it's like, get your World ID now, because we are soon going to be at 6 billion. You know, we'll have everybody.
Because eventually, if they're like, well, right, if all of a sudden like Ticketmaster says you have to have a World ID to buy your concert ticket, like they'll start doing those types of like partnerships and stuff, I'm sure. So then there'll be competing companies trying to get your, like,
I feel like for it to work,
be your
it's got to
verification layer.
It's got to be like on the physical world where you get this like login. Because I feel like if there's any one company that has like World ID token, somebody's always going to be able to work outside of that system. Like you can't mandate it unless it's like you literally can't access a computer unless it is like your body doing it. You know? Does that make sense?
Well, that's where this orb comes in. So when you get this World app to make your World ID, you then have to go find somebody that has one of these orbs, and then that scans you and that verifies you.
And this is to access the internet.
I want to know more about
all?
that. That's weird shit.
How
This
do
is
they...
like you would put a verification layer into where now, like, to probably like super dumb it down. Now like Ticketmaster layers on, like, is drawing from the World ID API, and then you access Ticketmaster through your like credentialed access through their app into Ticketmaster.
Yeah, so like at the end of the day, you'd have to have one universal source of verification, right? So we'd all have to accept like an Apple, be like Apple verifies everybody. And be like, we trust them.
No.
Or Ticketmaster will accept multiple. Ticketmaster will accept the Apple verification, the World verification.
It would be, because, there's multiple blockchains and stuff
Google.
like that. So like,
what's key is that there's only one key that is tied to you. It doesn't matter if you're using like the World coin or Apple or if it's PayPal. But I think how it works is it scans your iris. I'm not sure about this, but if I was to make it, it would scan your iris and then include that in any. I think it utilizes blockchain. Include that in any transaction or activity, and the inclusion of your unique iris, because everybody has unique iris, changes the encrypted version of your activity in a way that only your iris can de-encrypt. So I think that is what makes it like verifiably you. And then anybody, whether it's Apple or Visa, could take a look at what you've done and use your key to verify that it was actually you.
Cool, kind of in that vein of encryption. I might be butchering it. It's either one major security company, it might be CrowdStrike. They create their daily encryption key, or I could be butchering this part, but what they do is they have 30 lava lamps on a wall, and they take a picture of those lava lamps every day. And I think it's like entropy, or I don't know. It's just all the odds of that picture being the same on any single day is so low. It's just kind of an interesting. That's how they do their encryption, and like kind of make it off of that.
I saw
Similar,
that recently
like,
too. Yeah.
The eyes would be a very good one. I'm also pitching an idea to World here. When you do team up with Ticketmaster, I think one of the ways you incentivize getting one of these is you do something for like a Taylor Swift event. You say, for the first 15 minutes these tickets go on sale, only users with World IDs can buy tickets. So then you would have a massive incentive to get a World ID. The bots would be kicked out, but you're not blocking people from buying tickets. You get the verified people access. It would be something World would pay Ticketmaster a lot of money, but I think would pay off massively, at least to fill out the user base a little bit.
If Apple is not trying to figure out like how to do this, they're really stupid. Like
Tim
they
Cook's a
would
supply
be
chain
the
manager. He's not a
they would
an
be
innovation guy.
they would be the company to do this, and it has so much trust already. Like if there was some way to get, like, I'll give Apple my entire body, like they can do whatever they want with me, and because I trust them so
Clip
much.
that.
And like if they could figure out a way to like use the camera to, I mean, they were already doing like Face ID and stuff, so like why haven't we figured out a way to like make like use of Face ID confirming real person, allow that to be the token that gets you into the Ticketmaster queue?
Well, with that specifically, like faces are easily masked. Like I think CIA has gotten around that.
True.
pretty
Have you
quick.
seen Mission Impossible?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
That new movie, they use super
Well,
realistic
it's
masks.
not really a new movie.
Yeah, it's like 2023 maybe.
25 years old.
So will every website need to use some form of world or verification app to access their websites?
I've got a solution for this. I thought about this because I think it needs to be like nobody anywhere can access anything until they get verified. And they have to do that every single time they try to use the internet. And how do you possibly enforce that? I have the solution for you if you want it.
Gun to the chip.
The chip. You can't access the internet unless it's in your brain.
Yeah.
Matthew's not going to get the chip, so are you just
needs
cutting
the
him off from
internet?
the internet?
Yeah, he can be on Internet 2.0, but we're going to Internet 3.0, where all of
You're
the
welcome
problems of
to it.
Internet 2.0 don't exist.
It would be
But-
nice, in theory, to have an internet where you know everything is from humans. I will say that, like to that idea.
That is not a big enough problem in my world to implant something into my brain.
That's fair.
Bots.
It
Bots
will
are like the
become- it will
smallest
be,
problem
though.
in my life.
It's just the direction that we're going.
What do you mean?
I mean, we
bots
may
are
like- we may
not a big
the
problem
internet.
in my life, like at all. Are bots a big hindrance in your guys' life, your daily life? It's affecting you.
It
in a
will
way that-
become that.
in what way?
The
I'm just
internet is going
scared,
to be
man.
taken over by the internet. Will be taken over by there'll be so many bots. The internet's just going to become bots interacting with each other. We'll be looking for like a reprieve from it and a place to actually go see each other.
Yeah, but
And so
you're
that's
just
why we have
talking
to create
social
this
media.
3.0.
You're just talking
Well,
like essentially
not
entertainment
technically, Matt.
apps.
No. It's like blogs. It's like anything that you would look for would technically not have been written by a human. Like anything on the internet would not be by a human.
Well, that's
the
not
fear.
true. You think we're going to be blocked out completely?
Yes.
That's the fear. And if it's scaling like that too.
What do you mean? Because there are just too many bots, they drown us out, or do you actually think they prevent us from posting on the internet?
No, you would post, but it doesn't matter if you post, but 1,000 bots also post the same thing about cooking asparagus.
Yeah.
You're out. Like you don't matter. So that's the fear.
And they instantly read what you said and wrote a better article about it, and then used all the other bots to like that article so that the algorithm pushed it. So nobody actually even saw your post about asparagus, even though it's like the trending story in the nation right now.
And there's no reason to post anymore because you can just ask whatever you wanted to know and get a post made for you immediately, or a podcast made immediately if you want to hear a podcast about Greenland.
But honestly,
You don't need to listen to us talk about it.
Yeah, we're out of
Nobody's
jobs, so
listening
I'd
to
tell you
us.
guys. I know our numbers are going down.
I mean, how much faith do you have before there were bots in the things that you're reading anyway? I never did. Like, people just post shit. Like, how you're telling me I can trust human beings more than I can trust these bots? I don't know if I can.
Well, I think that's more like, I think it's in the scary part of bots like taking over is real, but I think the real reason why we're headed in this direction is more back to that story of it's your information and there's value to it, and it's been taken from you and used to harm you and to harm society for a long time. And so I think it's more about taking control of your own information and how it's being used. And I think the reason why that does affect you is like looking at society today and our addiction to phones and the gamification of everything. Like a large portion of that is due to the misuse of the farming of your information and this commercialization of it. And I think that there is going to become sort of a workers' revolution idea where you realize that maybe it's not the bots themselves that are causing this, but in a way it is, because that's what pushes algorithms, and that's what gets eyeballs and steals your attention. And then that's what, directs people's sentiment and drives divides between people. So I think that there's like a lot of very real harm that is being done to people with the inability to verify human to human activity. Not to say that humans aren't bad and will still be like aggressive or mean in whatever ways, because we all have self-interest, but at least there's not going to be this disparity between who has the information, how they get it, what it's worth, and how it affects you, kind of thing. That's my take, at least, I guess.
I personally like the way I interact with the internet. I do want to know what's from human beings, I suppose, but I don't know if that needs to be a barrier to access anything, Like when I'm reading a Wikipedia page, right? Like you get to see the sources, kind of like what they do with the Google's like AI. Like when you get your AI response, whatever question it gives you, kind of like the citations. That's kind of what I would want with posting on the internet. I would just like to know, oh, okay, this one was from a human being who sourced it from this, or it's from AI. As long as I know where the source is coming from, I think that's okay. I'm not as concerned. If it's just social media and people just like saying stuff, I don't know. I feel like I drown that out.
What if it's electing your legislators and choosing the legislation, like we were talking about earlier? Would you do it for that purpose, to verify that everybody is human? Like maybe it's not the internet, but maybe it's some kind of governance system. Would you support a chip for that?
I'm not supporting this chip at all, but
maybe not the chip, but this
the voting piece
idea.
Yeah, if you could verify, if we could, like Austin said, if Apple made some contract with the U.S. government and was like, hey, we're gonna verify everybody on your cell phones with the retina scan, right, or the facial recognition scan. And as long as they did that, and we all voted, like our country agreed that that's a valid way to decide an election, that as long as you verify yourself, and that's in some sort, they'd obviously have to be connected to, I don't know, some like the IRS or something, so that they have a documentation of everybody who's voting that's like an American citizen, right? And if they did that, then you'd get a lot more people voting. But I mean, not nobody. The people in power do not want more people to vote. So that'll never happen.
Very true.
But I would be supportive of that. If we could move it to the internet, I think voting on the internet would be great, because as long as you find a secure way to do it, obviously you're going to have people that are always going to claim that it's not legitimate. I mean, Trump was literally doing it today. I heard at Davos, he was literally saying he got the election stolen again at Davos in front of everybody while he's the president of the United States. It's like, get over it, you loser.
That is so
Wait, can
tiring.
we talk about Greenland a little bit?
Yeah.
Can I say one more thing about this before we do?
You can say whatever you want. This is your podcast.
And maybe Austin, cut this out, because this might be an actual idea. You guys, you're on board if you want to be.
Okay.
The chip, okay, that we're talking about getting. And Matt, I think that you can support this. Tell me if you can. It's a small blockchain that's put in your body from the moment that you're born. And all that it does, the only thing that it does, is it takes the pattern of your heartbeat and it creates blocks. And then using a blockchain, and for everything that you do in your whole life, you use that last coin, the last block in your blockchain, as your verifiable token that it's you. Then, and everybody agrees, because you've got this whole lifelong history of like going to your soccer game, boom, yep, that's that person. Paying for your groceries, boom, yep, that's that person. Because that blockchain is with you the whole time, it can't be stolen. Verifiable person to log into the internet. And no, sorry, I got to tie it back. It's for voting purposes and governance. So you could then, like, on your phone, use your key, your blockchain, to be able to vote. Oh man, I butchered it at the end, but did that initial part make sense?
This would be an electronic device?
I think it would just be like an onboard computer that's basically creating a little blockchain of your life that can't be
we chip our
duplicated.
cats.
Yeah,
You're
it'd basically be that. It would
human?
basically be that. But not something that you could like cut out and like steal. It had to be something that was like tied
was
to all of
thinking-
your
Oh
action.
no!
Well, I
Maybe
was
it's
thinking-
black market for this.
Daniel
Like, steal the
Craig.
ship?
You gotta avoid that completely. Tied to your iris or something.
Have you guys
In
ever seen
Casino
Repo
Royale.
Man?
He gets the arms.
Are these movies where people get eyeballs scooped out of their heads?
No, Repo Man is the future. I think it was made in the early 2000s.
Is that
And-
Arnold Schwarzenegger?
No, it's like John Cusack or somebody random like that. I can't remember. But essentially we're in a future where it's very easy to get like organ transplants and like limb transplants, but instead of it being a permanent transplant, you basically make payments on it, like it's a loan. And if you don't
They
make your
take it
payments,
back?
they repossess it. So they have like bounty hunters that are like, they come if you didn't make your payments on your liver transplant, they come and take your liver back.
I actually don't think that's totally out of the realm of possibility. You know,
There
if we
was
become good
there
at
was
that.
a Black Mirror. I mean, I haven't seen Black Mirror, but I've heard about this episode that there was one where it was like you paid a subscription to like keep someone, like someone had a disease or something, and you could like pay a subscription that was really expensive to keep your loved one alive. And then, but I guess I don't remember, they couldn't afford it or something, and then I don't know what happened. But I was kind of, I mean, it's kind of like already that way, I suppose. Like I guess if you have access to medicine that can help you live longer, even if it's really expensive. I don't know.
We got
Everything
really
we're talking
big
about
picture.
is just getting closer to us becoming robots.
Simulation 2026. Add it to the predictions list. I'm typing it in now.
All right, mark it down. Okay, well, now that the intro to the episode is complete after an hour, we wanted to talk today about the biggest news stories that we've been missing out on over the last month, because a lot's been happening. So, I don't know, where do you want to start, with Venezuela or Greenland? Any preference?
I mean, we have to touch on Venezuela.
All right,
Yeah,
we can start with Venezuela. So obviously what was that, 2 weeks ago? We swooped in a covert, flawless military operation to snatch two convicts, I guess alleged, what were they? Indicted, but allegedly guilty convicts, Nicolas Maduro and his wife, for drug trafficking and a bunch of other things.
Weapons charges?
Weapons, yeah. He was
Narco
actually indicted in the Biden administration. We never went and did anything with it. And then now, again, like 2 weeks ago, Trump orchestrated an operation using, who did we use? SEALs? I don't know.
Delta
Some
Force
covert
5.
team. Delta Force 5. We went in, got them, and then we took them to New York and dropped them at the foot of our new mayor of New York, Mandami.
Mandani
Now I guess he's
took
in-
control of him?
No, we just took him to New York and they like paraded him around the city because they brought the ultimate dictator to the new socialist of New York. Anyway,
I've
beside
been
the
reading
point.
a lot of Roman history. That's what they used to do when Roman emperors used to conquer a region. They'd go and they'd want to triumph. The generals would then take in all the prisoners.
They parade them?
They parade them around the city. And the general, the leading general, whoever they conquered, would be like in chains and being dragged through the city and being shown off to everybody about how triumphant they were in conquering this place. Sounds awfully familiar.
There you
Does.
go.
It does.
So I guess now he's in prison somewhere, and I don't know if I guess there'll be a trial or something. I saw he pled not guilty, so I guess
You
now
guys
our
think it was an
taxpayer
inside
dollars are
job?
paying for him.
That's what I was going to talk about, Austin. Like, this trial's not going to happen for a couple of years. How is this just like, even I guess you wouldn't have to be an international criminal, but if you stick around in jail for 2 years before you get a trial, what the hell are we doing? Isn't that cruel or unjust punishment, or what's the thing? Cruel or
Cruel and
unusual
unusual.
punishment.
isn't it? What? Isn't that semi-cruel or unusual? 2 years before you get a trial? I don't know. I thought that was ridiculous when I heard that timeline. It's like, don't you have the evidence? Couldn't you do the trial tomorrow? And I guess the defense maybe has to do some work. I don't.
You gotta,
What's going
you
on
gotta
here?
do you gotta do a lot of a lot of depositions. The lawyers have to make their money, you know, so got to bill those hours.
Yeah, because if you do anything wrong, they'll just like throw it all
Didn't
out.
I say who was my big winner for 2026? I said billable hours.
You
You
did.
You did say that.
Nailed it. See that?
I mean, at the end of the day, too, U.S. is playing our game, right? Like, we're making the rules. No one was going to say you can't invade Venezuela. Even if they did, which some did, like, what were they going to do about it? The U.S. did what they wanted to do. And so what's anybody else going to do about Maduro now being in our country? Somebody going to come in and say, sorry, you can't hold them for 2 years? I don't think so. So it's kind of on Trump / United States' timeline at this point. Whether that's right or wrong, or people disagree, that's how it is.
I mean, really, it's up to Venezuela, right? Like the international community can decry it, you know, like I condemn these actions. But at the end of the day, it's up to Venezuela to like go to war with the United States. You just took our general. We're going to come get him back. So if they aren't going to do that, then the rest of the world just has to be like, I didn't like that. Please don't do it to me. That wasn't nice. And
They
you're
all
mean,
did say that.
you know, but yeah.
They all said it was illegal. Everybody came out and
Hey,
said,
that's illegal.
that's illegal.
I like the comments that were, oh, it couldn't have happened to a nicer guy, stuff like that.
Okay, so on a bigger picture,
yeah.
though, how did you guys feel when it happened? When you saw that we had invaded Venezuela and stolen their president, or wherever he really is? I don't know if we don't have to agree that he was their president or not, so rigged elections and so forth. But were you okay that the U.S. stepped in and kind of broke whatever international law is in place and basically just kidnapped the president of a foreign nation, even if they are enemies?
I mean, don't we do that like to like Soleimani and, you know, all the Iran, like we kind of just do that all over the place anyways, right? I guess I wasn't alarmed when it happened for some reason. Like my first thought wasn't like, oh shit, this is a big deal, we're going to war. It was like they did another operation on like kind of a meddling country. You know, I don't necessarily know all of the politics of Iran and of Venezuela, but I know that there is some corruption. So, you know, I don't know. Yeah, I guess I was just like, oh, and it happened so quickly that I feel like it didn't have a chance to be like, oh shit, do I like this or not? It was just like, hey, I don't think that's cool to just like take somebody's president. Like, I don't like those international relations, and that's up to the Venezuelan people. But I don't know.
Well, the Venezuelan
Comes down
people
to your
didn't.
trust in our government.
The Venezuelan people don't like him either, and they voted for him to not be their president. And he said, "I'm not going to listen to you." So, I think Venezuela is actually quite excited that.
Wait,
this
is that true?
happened.
He kept
Yeah.
power. So I
He's
feel
a
like why
dictator.
shouldn't? In that case, then I feel like the world should be applauding the United States.
They should have been. They would have been if anyone did it besides Trump. If Biden did that operation, you wouldn't have heard any of this. That's against international law, or, oh my God, so bad.
It would have been
They would
the
have all come
usual
out and said,
actors.
"That's incredible. You did a great thing. You're a humanitarian. Let's give you the Nobel Peace Prize." It was
So
totally
Austin-
different. Like
Dude, Nobel Prize.
So Austin, you fall into
So
the
bizarre.
category of no big deal. This is what we do. We have the right to do it. Sam, sounds like you are pretty indifferent. Like, we've done this in the past. It's no different. And it sounds like he was a bad guy, so it's fine. What about you, Justin? Where do you land?
I don't think it's something you should be doing. So I would lean on that side of the fence, because if your only justification is that, like, oh, he's a bad dude, it's just like, okay, who determines that this guy's a bad dude? Like Maduro, you should say, okay, that's an easy argument. But let's say it was whoever the hell's leading Greenland. Like, oh, we had to kidnap them to, make sure this Greenland stuff goes through, and they're bad because they didn't want to sell. Okay, like who's determining that like this person's bad enough that this needs to get done? That's what I have a problem with.
Yeah.
I think it's a slippery slope. You could start arguing, oh, that guy's not friendly to the United States, he has to go. Like I think my Central American country is a little off. Not Honduras, but
Guatemala.
Ecuador,
What are you trying to think of?
one other country. I There's also like kind of a socialist that spoke out against it of a neighbor. It might have been
Honduras
Colombia. It might have been
is
Honduras
communist.
or whatever. One of them said, like, absolutely lambasted the president. Then the president was like, "Oh well, he's got to watch out. Like, he's not a very good guy either." What are we doing? Like, did we seriously just say that? Like, threaten to do the same thing to him?
Trump threatened to like kidnap another country's
He's
guy.
not. Again, he does the Trump thing. He doesn't threaten to kidnap. But he's like,
Yeah.
"Oh well, he's not a good guy either."
Yeah.
And
He
it's
better
just
watch
like-
himself. Yeah, better get in line.
Mhm.
That is just so tiring, and I think you're starting to see ramifications of it. Like, Trump doesn't normally have ramifications when he does these things, but now you're starting to see countries kind of look at themselves and say, what does it look like if we don't have a relation with the United States? And I don't think this has ever happened before. And I think this is a problem that Trump didn't think others were going to go away from the United States and look for friends in other places. But like Canada, for instance, their prime minister is making deals with China now, is reaching out to China to say, hey, what can we do? Canada, our northern neighbor, is doing that. And you can argue that like Carney has never been a friend of Donald Trump, but like that's a big deal. And it's your actions as president that have directly caused that. And I don't know what, like, if anyone wants to back up Trump on that, I'd love to hear those arguments because I don't understand them. Like, I straight up think that's a bad thing for the United States.
I mean, I think he's been convinced for a long time that, and I think we'll figure out if he's right or wrong, but his view is that the U.S. against the world, the U.S. still wins. And, like, the world can't actually come, like, Canada and China, I mean, there'll always be these, like, posturing things that happen, but the reality, in his view, and I don't know the numbers, I don't know if anybody knows right or wrong, like, if Canada could survive a direct cutoff from us or not, or like how that would play out. I can't see Canada and China becoming like the closest of friends just because of how far away they are from each other.
But the enemy of my enemy is how that would happen, I think, right?
The enemy of my enemy.
For Canada and China, I think your statement that Trump thinks it's U.S. can take on the world, like, I think that's what's really striking about some of his recent talks with Greenland specifically for me, is that it's not just the U.S. against like our typical adversaries, communism and China and Russia, but it's against our allies as well. And that started with the tariffs on Liberation Day. That was sort of an aggressive action against our allies. Even Canada, Greenland, Denmark, we have issues with Mexico. It's like everywhere we're like, hey, we're the top dog right now.
I mean, the thought I would say is that again, his view is, yes, these are our allies, but they've still been taking advantage of us. Like, it has not been a fair relationship in his mind. Even though they're our allies, we're not getting what we should from them for what we bring to the table for them. And so he would say, like, our allies should be coming to us and more agreeable to whatever he wants to further the U.S.'s dominance. Like, Greenland should just say, hey, you can have us and do your and build the Golden Dome and lock up this shipping channel and like give it in his mind, like, if you're such a good ally, you should be saying for sure, like, we're on your side. Let's do the deal. Let's be done so that we can further.
It's a call to arms.
Push away.
It's a call to arms.
Like, who, right? How bad do you want it?
Show up, be a part of our team, or you're not on our team. And it's the gamble is you whip the dog too hard and it bites back. You
know what he's been reading, if he can read? The Prince. He's very Machiavellian.
Who's that? Machiavelli. Oh,
Machiavelli. Trump is very Machiavellian. Yeah. He would rather be feared than loved. He wants everyone to know he shows strength, and he, like what Austin was saying about the allies, he wants the allies to respect us. He feels like we've been taken advantage of, and he'd rather our allies fear us but work with us because we're better than the alternative that is China or Russia or wherever it may be. Whether that's right or wrong, I don't think I agree with him, but that is the model. He's an imperialist. Just listen to what he says.
And he's been consistent for his entire life, he's been consistently
Yeah,
saying the same
he's like
thing.
a pre-Cold War mindset of we need to invade and take over and show power, show strength. He talks about like he wants to build a arch because all the other countries have arches, and he talks like a monarch. Like he wants with these grandiose things. He's adding this nice ballroom on the White House. It's this very old mindset.
gold
with a new
fleet.
military bunker underneath it.
Yes, he wants to show military strength at his birthday party. He wants these giant parades like they show off in Russia and they do in China. That's the mindset he has. He's an imperialist. He would rather
Everything points
colonize.
towards war. Everything points
Yes,
towards
he wants
war.
aggression.
We said it in episode 2. Yeah, it's coming.
And
It's
that
just
is a dangerous world to live in. There's a reason we moved away from it for so long.
It's a gamble. It's definitely a gamble he's taking right now, because why risk it? Because sure, you can say, I don't think you have the cojones to go make a trade agreement with someone else because you can't live without the United States. But that gamble is that now you are putting that on the table. And unless you somehow know something that is always going to pay off, you don't know it's going to pay off. So right now, he's throwing out this gamble. And he's saying, hey, look, there's no way he knows. There's no way he knows that this is going to work out exactly the way that he thinks it's going to work out. And so the American people, which I think is fair to say, did not vote for an uncertain gamble to happen. This is a gamble. I don't care how you look at it. It's a gamble.
Are you talking about Venezuela or Greenland?
No,
Which is the
just
gamble?
this foreign policy, the kind of push the allies foreign policy. I just think
It's
it's
house
a
money.
gamble that the American people didn't necessarily sign up for this. I guess maybe the American people weren't familiar. Like Austin, if I'm assuming that you are very familiar with what he's liked his whole life, but maybe the people weren't aware of the American first mindset was this. Because, if I'm thinking without knowing his background, American first, and yeah, I knew his first presidency, I thought it was trade deals, trade deals, trade deals. But it's just, I guess maybe it's the way that he goes trying to get trade deals is very risky in my eyes. I just think it's overly risky for the position the United States is in already as the global number one. Why risk that to be global number one farther? It's just kind of weird to me.
Well, the trade deal is so important because it's just it is the commitment. It's the proof of commitment by the other country that you are on our side. If you're willing to make that deal, I think he thinks of the trade deals as just a proxy for who he's got in his corner, who we have in our corner, this is our country, and that's why he pushes on that so much. And then when he doesn't get the response, then it's like an insult of saying well, I guess you're really not part of Team America here, and so I'm gonna ratchet up the tension until you eventually grovel. And most times people end up coming to a deal because I think he knows that he has the best hand at the table. And so when you're playing poker and you know that, you can be really aggressive.
That's what I say.
Does he have the best hand though, with 30, the debt going the way it is? I think it's a very interesting hand.
Well,
without a doubt, 10 years ago.
I think it's forcing his hand. I think the debt is what's forcing his hand more than anything. It's the best that it's ever gonna be right now.
True, I guess. In theory, it's kind of the inverse of AI. Like the United States position is only going to get worse, so you got to do better now.
Yeah, if we keep doing what we had been doing, and us and our alliances just keep getting weaker, while the China and Russia coalition,
we were losing
keep
the race.
getting stronger.
They were getting stronger and stronger.
Because you have to look at this from a long arc. You can't look at this just in what happens today. You have to say over the long period of time, where are things trending? And if they're not trending, it's because it takes a long time to move this ship and to reverse course. And so it will feel pretty rocky when you try to turn the ship like this. But if in his mind and what he sees and what potentially we should believe, I don't know, as a country that that over the next 100 years, there's this big what's the word I'm looking for? This big risk, and that we will continue and fall into a decline, then we should probably start taking more drastic measure to ensure that we keep our dominant position. Existential is the word I was looking for. Again, I don't know if that's true, but I'm saying I'm more so talking about how you could justify the action if you do look at it from that lens.
Am I going crazy that you guys all believe that these decisions are calmly calculated by Donald Trump? Because I
I don't even know anymore.
personally think he is playing with house
wouldn't
money
say
because he
that.
got elected and he's in his second presidency and he doesn't give a shit. Like, he doesn't care what other people are going to tell him because he's going to make the decision for what is going to ultimately benefit his ego. The guy is constantly, like Justin said earlier, he's throwing hissy fits about not winning the Nobel Peace Prize. Like, are you kidding me? Like, the man cares about
Well-
himself and his own ego, and he makes these decisions based on his own personal interests. I don't personally think he could care less about what the American people as a whole want or what's best for the American people. He has a mindset of what is right in his head, and he's going to make those decisions. Do you guys
I think
disagree?
You framed the like American people schism right there perfectly. Because yes, also thing that's true about Donald Trump his entire life, incredibly motivated by his legacy, his name, what legacy he will leave, which I'm sure he continues to think about. And he knows he has this opportunity to leave a stamp on world history, frankly. So yes, he will. I think he's acting faster and maybe less rationally than like
Because he wants to be
any
the
other
one to do
president
it.
would, because he wants to be the one to do it and to have like been thought of in the 100 years down the road as like the one that changed the course of history. Trump did. Like we'll remember Trump as that guy. Now, question is, you, Matthew, would believe he's doing that in purely self-interest, doesn't care about the outcome of that and of what the outcome of his decisions have on the United States. What his supporters would believe is, yes, he cares deeply about his legacy, but he cares equally about the country. And so they, like his supporters, not speaking on behalf of them, right? Like that's the story that they're going to believe, is that yes, he's self-interested, but he's doing it and he's the right person to do it because he's proven his love for the country and for the American dream and for everything that this country has.
I guess
given.
I would take
I'm
more
well
of a
aware that
neutral.
people are delusional. Go ahead, Sam.
Yeah, people are delusional. I think we're all delusional, first of all. But I think I'd take a more neutral view on Trump, being that he is and always has been like an ego-driven maniac who's very concerned about his legacy and does things very self-interestedly. But I wouldn't say that he is equally like patriotic about the country. More so, I would take the line of a lot of the things that he does are somewhat forced. Now, the way that he does them, that's all Trump. But like, I think coming back to the debt issue, I think that the bond markets, the financial markets, and the US dollar as a whole has a much, much bigger story in this than the ego of Donald Trump. And I think that the actions that the United States are taking are not long calculated by Trump, but long calculated by what the United States has done in its tenure as the world order. I think we're hearing a lot more talk about like a changing world order today. And what that means is a decline of the US. It has been a US world order, and now it's starting to change. And I think that is what is causing Donald Trump's actions to basically do a call to arms to bully everybody, including his allies, and say, no, this is still ours. Like, I think it's a defense and a like dying throw of an old system. And it's something that you can track throughout time, like with the Dutch and with the English and like all of the world orders throughout time. They follow this same trajectory, and Donald Trump, ego and all, fits squarely on that trajectory. So I think partially what he does is, yes, like bumbling, like crazy ego-driven maniac Donald Trump, but more so he is the product of and the result of our nation and how we have existed and where we are in our life cycle.
So as a question then, I think that you're in that seat as the president, and you maybe like if you were the president and you see where we are in this arc, you see what the bond market's telling you and what we're seeing in the US dollar, and you see that you have two paths. You can either get aggressive, you can either have a bias towards action or inaction. You have to so isn't having the bias towards action the proof that you actually do care about trying to save the thing, being the country, versus you could have the bias toward inaction, which I would say is like Joe Biden's presidency, where you do
Well, I
nothing.
think there's different ways to go about it. Like, I think, for example, the bond market, we have so much debt that we are in it's a debt spiral where we either inflate away our currency or we default on our debt. And so we see globally people moving away from the dollar. The interest rate market has been crazy. And I think the result of that is either you go to war and you bully people, and you do it very undiplomatically and through your ego and just bullying people. I don't think that proves that he cares about his country, but that he either has to go to war and like take money from other people, or fix things domestically, or, you know, do things peacefully. Like, the way that you go about solving these problems doesn't necessarily have to be driven from a place of like the best for the country. But I think that it is like what is next for the country, not necessarily what is best, that is really forcing a lot of these things to come to a head.
Well, that's where. So on Sam's point, right? If this is driven by, you know, the United States cycle, and ultimately the cycle kind of lives on the United States economy and its, you know, role as the global currency, that's what makes Greenland so much more head scratching to me. So an annexation of Greenland would absolutely explode deficit spending, right? You now have to garrison this whole island. You're obviously got to build up its infrastructure. I mean, the spending to do this would be absolutely insane. So if it's, you know, if we're trying to do this for making the US dollars that still stay the global currency, I don't get it. I think it's actually not going to help here. But like, unless he comes out and says it's all minerals, like this is purely a mineral play.
That it's not minerals. You said it today in Davos.
He said no minerals.
He said we can get minerals there, where you can get minerals everywhere. He said there's no such thing as rare earths. They're not rare, which actually is true. But he said the thing that we need is the shipping lanes, because as the ice caps melt, basically there's this new
there's a power vacuum there
forming.
Interesting. Yeah.
We need it for that, and we need it for this Golden Dome, which is basically the U.S.'s version of the Iron Dome, which is what he wants to build as our next generation missile defense system. That's why he wants it.
You make friends with Canada and you build your dome over the top of them as well, because they also extend pretty far north.
It may already exist partly in Canada, but I saw a map of something similar that we had in the 50s during the Cold War. It was a chain of radar systems, and Greenland was part of it, that allowed us to detect any threats coming from any of the Arctic states. And I think that Greenland is part of that same chain that we moved out of in the 80s after the Cold War was up. So I think it's like a reinstating of a system that we had when we were basically at war with Russia.
He literally said something to the effect of like, basically, Greenland, there's nothing there. It's like worthless land. But when there's a
like
war,
50,000 people.
Yeah, there is. But like when there's a hot war and missiles are coming over from China or Russia or wherever, they're all coming over Greenland, and that's all it has going for it. And that's why he wants it, because he doesn't want China to get it. Basically, he's worried that our adversaries will continue their expansion. So I think it's kind of like, I think it's just this combination of he wants to leave his mark, and so he's going to have this bias towards any action and using every day of the presidency to try to further that legacy, while also doing it in a way of furthering American dominance. And it's going to feel like it's super
so fucked.
But
rocky.
That doesn't address like the spending, and I think Justin, that's the point, is that he's inflating it away. Like, he's cashing in on the dollar. I think he made an offer. It was like $850 billion for Greenland he would give to Denmark, and he would give every resident in Greenland $100,000. And I don't know if that's verified or not, but essentially what he's doing and having to garrison the whole thing, you said the cost there, that's saying, all right, everybody is recognizing the decline of the dollar. So he is going to use all of its power right now He's cashing it in order to build up America in whatever way that he thinks is defensible. So instead of defending the US dollar, I think it's more a defense through military might. And I think you see that through expansions in the military, both domestically and abroad, like with ICE, the largest like, what do you call it, government or military organization? What do you call that? Like, it's
a
bigger than
government
FBI. Yeah, like he's massively expanded, and like the spending on that is insane. So I think we're moving towards this, like, all right, we're just gonna like spend all of our money to like project power everywhere that we can.
It went really well for the Romans when they eventually collapsed. You know, that's the one scary thing, right? Like, you've seen this in other places. Didn't who's your guy, Sam's the author who talks about the fall of America?
Ray Dalio.
Ray Dalio. Still haven't read that book. I need to get that in.
Seriously,
my list.
you gotta, if you haven't read it, like I recommended that to one of my other friends a couple days ago. That book still, I read it like 8 years ago. It still is like, it gives a clear picture of everything that has happened since then. It's really remarkable. I think it comes down ultimately to like trust in your leader. Like, if you're going to give this much power to one person to like project all of this power and to cash in on the dollar, say America first, like that's saying it's a competition and nobody is going to beat us, including our best allies. Like, it's America first. I think to say that, you have to really trust in who's leading that charge. And the problem with America right now is that you've got a lot of people who really do and a lot of people who really don't. And that doesn't really make a great team when half the team doesn't trust their leader. So it's a scary time to be like a part of that team in general, because we've got a scary leader and we've got a divided team, and that feels like a losing recipe to me. So we've got to do something there if we're about to be actually making these kinds of aggressive moves towards a war.
And maybe that's the thing, Austin. Like, would you label Trump, this is kind of an interesting question, a good communicator or a bad communicator?
I think he tells you exactly what he's going to do.
That's why I'd say good communicator. But the way he does it is extremely off-putting to a lot of people. So is he a bad communicator? So is he like a perfectly average, because his good and his bads tend to like level things out? Like, what's going on here? It's an interesting question, I think, because you could argue it very much in either direction.
Yeah, I mean, he certainly like hasn't done a strong job, which honestly no president really has in recent memory since, I don't even know, 9/11. No president has really been able to galvanize the nation behind something and actually like draw in the other side. I mean, you could say Obama did a little bit for the first couple of years before he went crazy.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Like, I think he's just, frankly, Trump's given up on, he doesn't have he also doesn't really have a big reason to be trying to like get the other half of the country behind him, because he's done after this. And I think he has gone all in on just what his side wants.
He really has gone to war domestically against those people too, through, I think, ICE and through the National Guard. Like, he's going after illegal immigrants, okay, but really he's sending these into democratic communities that have opposed him, and he's projecting power on leaders of those cities that have opposed him. Like, he's using this as a political force internally too. So he I think has done his call to arms internationally, and he tariffs you if you don't, or he threatens to, take out your dictator. And domestically, he's sending in federal troops to project power against people who are against him. So yeah, it's
I
like
think that's
the No Kings protest stuff. Like,
if you want to pivot to the to like Minneapolis, I never knew Minnesota was such a, I mean, I should know because of who their governor was and that we got to see on the national stage, but I never knew Minnesota was so crazy. Like, they've been the center of all this craziness. They had George Floyd, they've had this, there's just constantly something going on there. Anyway, I think the thought experiment I wanted to have on this with you all is, so if I frame it in the way of, there is a federal law that you cannot be an illegal immigrant. So that's on, oh my God. Are you okay?
that cat just punched you?
Holy shit.
What just happened?
That was nuts.
He was going for the mic. He nailed my lip there.
Bleeding?
Hope not. I'm going to get cat scratch fever.
You just took a right hook, calf scratch fever.
Oh,
I think I am
I'm gonna have
doing
to
shit.
go get that clip. That was wild.
I gotta wash my mouth with soap.
Got a couple clips in this episode.
So there, federal law on the books. You have to be a citizen to be in the country. Okay, we can agree that that's a law. Federally.
Well, to stay within
Then
the
you
country.
have a mayor who tells the local police force that you are not to arrest anyone that's in violation of that law. Should then the federal law enforcement agency responsible for enforcing that law be able to come and enforce that law if the state and local governments are not enforcing what's a federal law? I think that's like the framing that I want to keep this in, because there's a lot of like, we can talk about ICE and how they're doing the tactics that they're doing, but just from like a standpoint of legality and of like what is actually
Like
happening.
federal. Yeah,
Well, that's an
the
interesting
federalism.
framework because that is not a very Republican stance, right?
Correct. I'm not saying it either way. I'm
I
saying
know.
just
Isn't
like
that interesting though?
legally, like what's happening. Like, yeah, the federal law is like taking precedence over a state.
Isn't that interesting
And
though? The Republican president, supposedly Republican president, is enforcing the federal law over states' rights in that situation. That's just interesting to me. I mean, obviously we know Trump
wait,
is a
let me make
true
sure
Republican,
let me
but
make sure I understand this though, because my understanding is that federal law is supposed to be sort of underneath all states' laws. Like you can legislate on top of federal law and be more restrictive, but I think that federal law is supposed to be like the baseline, and states can't like take away from federal law. Is that correct, or did I just imagine that?
I think you said it backwards.
yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, federal law trumps all. Like if we say there's no prostitution in this country, they can't allow prostitution in the country. If they do,
Well, isn't that the same thing?
I
Like
don't think federal law
no
trumps all would be
illegal.
a fair statement because, like, voting, for instance, I don't think there's any, like, voting is purely, I guess the way voting is done is purely states. Like, the feds cannot change voting laws within states.
It's if you've made a federal law, so like abortion, like Roe v. Wade,
yeah.
we made that a federal issue, right? So
Yeah.
then that federal law trumped. So if you were not to say, I don't know, I'm going to say it backwards. Basically, you could not, like in Roe v. Wade, abortion was legal, and that's federally done. Then what we did by saying get rid of that is we gave the decision back to the states. So now the states can decide. With being legal, being a United States citizen or not, that is a federal issue. It's not a state issue whether you allow United States citizens to be in your state legally or illegally.
Well, here's a perfect example. We actually talked about this earlier in the pod, long pods ago, when Trump came into power, and we talked about enforcing laws. Technically, the federal law will trump all local laws because it's federal, like they're part of the United States, so federal law decides it. But if a state decides to not adhere to a federal law, there's only one way to enforce it, and there's only one person who can enforce it, and that's, well, person/group, and that's Congress and Senate, and then through the president. And the president, who's the commander in chief, has to then send in the military and tell the state, you are going to enforce this federal law because I'm the president, and that is how you force them to. The example that I was going to give is think about civil rights in the South when they had to walk little girls into schools, little black girls into schools because the white schools would not let her in. Even though it was a federal law that had equal rights, the schools are not letting these children go to school because they're racist. But the federal government said, we're going to bring our agents in and they're going to walk them into the schools because you can't stop us. And so at the end of the day, the only way to truly enforce a law in a state is through military force.
So is that
That's a
what
great
Trump's doing
example.
with ICE and with immigration? Like
He's
these
walking
safe
them out of
harbor
the state.
cities? These
Yeah,
safe harbor cities who are allowing illegal immigration, which is a federal law, is he going in with his military to enforce?
He's literally doing
Is that
he's
what you're
doing
saying,
exactly
Matt?
what Matthew just said. He's using federal agents to go in and walk them out. Instead of walk them into the school, he's walking them out of the school.
Yes,
That
technically,
is
if
what
we
ICE is
simplify it,
doing.
that's exactly what they are doing. Now we can argue over the means by which they're doing it and how they are doing it,
Yeah.
if it follows the
Yeah.
law that they're
The
actually enforcing,
morality. Yeah.
and the ethics behind it. But at the end of the day, the way Austin framed it is correct that he has the right as the president to do that. But that doesn't necessarily mean we agree with it and it's the right move. And the ethics behind a lot of it comes into question of, sure, we've had ICE and we've sent ICE agents into different states in the past under different presidencies and taken illegal
They've
immigrants out of the
operated in
country.
every state
Yes,
forever.
it's
Like
always
ICE
been a
has been
thing.
operating for.
Trump has taken it to a whole new level because he wants to make a point to what you were saying, Sam, and show might, like we were also mentioning earlier, in the face of the people who opposed him, the Democratic cities, and he's sending in his agents to make a statement. I mean, it's as simple as that. I mean, this wasn't what he promised. I'm not sure if this is. I mean, this is what I imagined, and I think most people that were not big fans of his, but I think most people who voted for him did not expect him to go in. I mean, listen to like Joe Rogan, who was one of like his big proponents of like this, and a lot of people he had on his show that talked about immigration. They talk like this is great. Like I think everyone could agree that we shouldn't have open borders and that it's just lawless access and there should be just a good system. But I don't think most people expected Trump to send in swarms of ICE agents into cities and knocking on people's doors. Like it feels, I mean, I know everybody makes a comparison, but it feels like it's Nazi Germany where someone's knocking on your door and taking people up in the middle of the night and taking them out. It's obviously different circumstances, but it sure feels like that, especially when you see a lot of profiling that's going on. Sometimes I'm sure they do know illegal immigrants are in these certain places and they go in and they take them out by force. But in other times, you're seeing a lot of people being asked if they're United States citizens within the United States, which I'm not sure we have a legal right that we have to give that, right? Like if a cop tells you to give them your license, are you legally obligated to give them your license? I don't
No, but
I
then
don't
they
think
can
you are.
also detain you without cause. So that's the other problem. Just from like a cop standpoint, like you can be detained for a certain amount of time without cause.
Yeah, and so that's the same in these situations. So, I mean,
Interesting.
it plays back into the whole, in my opinion, of Trump's ego because he's not sending in large groups of ICE into red states, even if there are illegal immigrants in large droves in those states, which there are. They're not. It's not just blue cities.
Texas
Well,
would get
I
a ton
wonder.
of illegal immigrants, if he did send them into Texas. That's just in nature of it.
Well, hang on. He may be doing that because some of the acts that were passed to expand ICE actually allows him to federalize state and local police to basically have them act as ICE agents. So I think what may be happening in some Republican states is that funding just goes straight to the pockets of the existing military force, who is going to play ball because they're on the same team as Trump. That being
I
said,
don't know if that's.
I don't know if there's much ICE activity in like rural Republican towns.
I don't know that. I wouldn't refer to like general law enforcement as the local military force, but I do think what you're saying is correct that in the states where like there are Republican governors and mayors, etc., like they're going and police chiefs and like they're going to be encouraging them to enforce the law. So I'm sure that they are like doing that work on behalf of ICE. I literally think that this blew up in Minneapolis because you had this explicit and like clear edict from the leaders of Minnesota and Minneapolis to say, do the opposite of what the law is. And that was then just like a perfect opportunity for Trump to send all of them right there and say, if you're going to actually like actively go against federal law, then I will bring in my own team to take care of that. again, I think that what they've done is like I disagree with certain ways that it's being handled. I don't know if it's right or
Yeah,
wrong.
like the
I
killing
don't
of
like
Renee
that they don't
Good
have.
and some of the aggression, the tear gas, a lot of that stuff is not good.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like that like they're all masked and that they like don't have
Yeah.
like clear badge or identification and stuff like that. People say like, oh well, they'll get doxxed and they'll get killed, and yeah, like
It's a
sure, there's an
risk of the
argument for
job.
that, but
Like, that's
it is a risk of the job. I just wish that like the state and local governments would decide or would follow the law and support the federal government in this until the country decides that we no longer want, that citizenship duty to be a federally enforceable thing. Like if you want to, but then it's like we don't have a country.
Well, I
Literally,
disagree
that
with
would be
that.
the end of the
I
country.
100% disagree with that. It is not because we voted for a president 4 years ago or 2 years ago, we now have to agree with what he decides is the right thing for everyone. I think it's
No, but that's
civil
the point. You have to
disobedience.
vote.
We
Yeah, but
voted
we
for
get
him, but it doesn't
to
mean we have to
vote
agree.
for.
No,
But
he's
we get
saying
to-
you need to vote
you get to vote
like change
every
the law
time
that
to
he's
decide
trying
that. So if we decide we don't want if we decide that we don't want being a U.S. citizen to be federally enforceable, then we should pass a law as a country to say that is now enforceable only at the state level. And then you can have a whole safe haven state, if you want, of illegals from whatever country you can imagine, and see who lives there and who doesn't, and like they'll get to decide their own laws.
And we
But
can argue over the
that's like
legality of it all day, though. But at the end of the day, do you agree with what's going on? Like we can't just because a law is broken, does that give them the right to then go in and do what they're doing?
Do you guys want to take a position on it? Because that's been a tough one for me, honestly, since before he got elected, is immigration. And I've sort of started to take the viewpoint that it is a genuine national security concern to not know who is in your country. Like some of those people could be very bad people. So I was sort of the opinion that, yes, it's a genuine problem. But then, Matt, I'm with you. It's like the way that it's done and the people that it's being done to and how big of a problem was it actually? Those are things that I'm not so sure of and not so sure of the legality of it. But I do feel like the enforcing of illegal immigration is probably a good thing. As terrible as that is, it's people's lives that we're talking about. But just from a national security standpoint alone, you have to know who is in your country, right?
I think you're 100% right. And I think most people agree with that. It's just the way that Trump went about it is the loud and boisterous way because that's what he wants. He wants to make a statement. He wants he wants to be as visible as possible and presumably create some mayhem. Like that's what he wants at the end of the day in
Yeah,
these
so
situations.
it can lead to bad actors using his message. And I mean, this happens to any president, but like you'll have people saying Trump always has my back, so I can pretty much push this to the limit and maybe even break some laws while I'm enforcing his mandate. That's what I like listening to all your guys' arguments. I think you guys are all making big points, picking a side on it. Like I am for enforcement of, you know, illegal immigration needs to be, we need to get the people out who need to be moved out. But I'm also for some more accountability. I just don't think there's any accountability, at least being publicly displayed by the Trump administration. Like imagine all these things are happening, and it doesn't even have to be the ones in the high profile cases, but you also have news stories of officers who did go over the line and do something extremely bad and them being punished and that making national news. You have to get those in the cycle to even know that there's some accountability. Right now, everybody's looking at ICE and saying, well, who reviews
they're
ICE?
just going to be defended. That they're just...
I think that's what's missing, at least in my eyes.
That is alarming.
It's just kind of like, who polices ICE? If Donald Trump did come out and say like, hey, look, we will punish officers who disobey the law and go outside the boundaries of their mandate, then I would feel better about it. But he's not doing that. That's not in his nature, right? He doesn't ever step down at all. I think that's a major flaw in his character, but that's who he is. He's never going to back down at all. So
I think I've got it again. I think it's Trump. It's his ego. but I think it's, again, this is something that is being forced into America's storyline, and that is just general civil unrest. Civil wars are common before declines of superpowers. I think that he is using force against his own people. Like, these are classic symptoms of a superpower, a world order in decline. And I think we can talk all day long about whether it's legal, whether it's not, whether the way he does it is good or bad or crass or, whatever. I think it's a broader story that the symptoms that we have right now are, they're coming to fruition through this civil unrest. And, seeing that play out in Trump's policies and the actual action that's being taken is just evidence for how far along we are in the timeline, and the direction. It's more, I think, in my eyes, it's more validation in the direction that the United States is headed. Like, seeing that kind of action being taken is definitely being.
At some point, I don't know. It's the same with the international stage. Like, at some point you have to change the status quo and like stop continuing on with just whatever you were doing. And that's so, like, everybody agreed. Trump literally won both times because of the border. It was the first thing he said when he came down the golden escalator in 2015 was that there are murderers and rapists and all of this stuff in the country. And that galvanized the support of the country. And the same thing is why he won second time. It's because of illegal immigration. And
that was a big theme in the 2016 election. I remember racism being a big, like, people who were Trump supporters were considered racist because of the immigration policy, right? It was because he was calling people murderers and racists just as like a broad, like sort of a racist way. Like, he was just categorizing entire groups of people as, bad people. So sorry to interrupt you, but that now it seems like the national security side of things does, I think, make a little bit more sense to me.
You know why
Well,
that's so
that's what I'm saying,
popular
he's-
though? It's very easy to run on fear. They have like everyone who's ever won has elections or won, even like we've talked about the Romans, it seems like a couple times. Like if you go back to even their times, it's like, look at these bad guys. Like we don't want them. You always use it as you always other group as justification for your own safety. There you go. Look how dangerous
Yeah,
these people are. It's very easy to win favor from people if you have an enemy. It's kind of what you were saying earlier, where Bush was very popular after 9/11 because we had an enemy. It's very easy to point to something, but you should be scared about living in your neighborhood because there are rapers and murderers all around. It just happen to be these people that don't look like you. It's very easy to point the finger that way.
And what was, yeah, and it works. I don't know what you're going to do about that. Like, you have to have everyone always has to have an enemy. And even companies will talk about this. Like CEOs will talk about, like, if you don't have an emergency to solve in your company, you should manufacture one. Make up an emergency. Make up some type of like catastrophic thing headed our way. And if we don't fix it, like, we're a dead company. Because if you don't have that, people don't have the ambition, people don't fight, and people don't work hard, essentially. Like, there's actually benefit in making up
What
an
does that
emergency.
say about where the U.S. has been for the last 80 years, where nobody could touch us? The U.S. never defaults on its dollar. Like, we will always be the people in charge. The U.S. is always the strongest. We have the best military. Like, that to me reads as we have no enemies because nobody can touch us, And I think that that's changing now. Like Matt said, it's easy to start pointing at the other and label them as an enemy in order to rally support. And it's very easy to rally support that way.
Yeah.
Also,
So, I mean, if we
even sorry, Austin, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was
You
gonna
go.
say, I think if he's gonna run on that, that's fine. And I mean, like people do it, and I mean, I don't agree with it. It's not something you shouldn't use fear to try and galvanize people, but like that's a way you can do it, and he won, and so be it. And I think most people voted for it in a rational way, like what you were saying, Sam, and we should be closing the borders. We should, these rapers and murderers and all these things that he said are in this country, it's a measly portion of all immigrants. It's 1% of the immigrants that we have in our country, maybe, if that. But it's easy to point the finger there. And we should get those people out of the country. But that's the problem is even the people who voted for him are now saying, this is not what we voted for. We did not want federal agents moving into our cities and yanking people out of their homes because they didn't go through the process the right way. We want the murderers. We want the rapists, the ones you told us you were going to come take out of our country. And then you were going to shut down the borders and keep people out and make them come through a legal process. And I think almost everyone will accept that that's pretty rational mindset. It's very rare to get people to agree on something, but I think a lot of people would agree that's pretty standard. But that's not what's
So,
happening.
do you think that it's been like if half of that came true and the border is closed and nobody's coming across, so you got that part of it, so you're happy there, but you're just mad with
No,
it's
I'm
kind of
not. I'm not ends justifies the means person. That is not the way to go about it.
So, but would you rather have if you if you have the two alternative, like you have the two options, it's either open and no enforcement, closed with enforcement.
Why am I giving this ultimatum? I don't need
Which do
that's
you
not
take?
realistic.
Well, because I'm saying like that's what you had. You had like 4 years of the one, and now you've had 2 years of the other. So you've seen both.
I don't think that's always
Which
how
do
it's
you
been in the
prefer?
United States. I don't think we've
It
always had
was
an
the
open
Joe
border
Biden.
policy. I'm not saying Joe
But we
Bor
did the last 4 years.
I understand. I'm saying that isn't always how the United States has operated. We have not always had an open policy to the border. We have had border control, and ICE has been around for a while. This isn't a new institution. Like we've had it in the past. We don't have to go one extreme or the other. That's not how most things are operated.
I just think that there was a swinging of so open of borders, and nobody like I've heard such a huge wide range of numbers, but I personally think that there was a huge influx during those 4 years that Biden was here. That I do actually
There
think that it
was.
exacerbated the problem and
There
swung
is
the
a-
pendulum.
It's kind of a agreed upon thing, even among Democratic leadership, that the Biden administration immigration and border handling was somewhat of a disaster. They started to rein it in towards the end of their term, but it was a anti-Trump policy that I don't think many people agreed with in hindsight. But
I think
I
it's
do. I think it's simple. I think you should shut the border down. You should create good legal pathways for smart and capable and people that have a high chance of being successful here to come. And then we should use our local and state law enforcement and ICE where it's needed to go targetedly find the bad actors. Whether
And that's
they're
the
legal or illegal, we should
Matt, you
always
have a
be trying to
problem
find
with?
the bad actors. And then that's your policy.
That's where I'm most.
a
Go ahead,
high-
Justin.
I agree. I think that's the policy, but the fact that there doesn't seem to be an emphasis on high precision and accountability, which
Yeah, I think.
really ruffles my feathers.
Yeah,
Because this
with
is
you on that.
not a policy that is, I mean, you're messing with people's lives. These are people that have been in the United States sometimes for 20 years, working their asses off, and then you kick them out to a country that they might not even speak the language because they were here for so long as a kid. And then that happens, and there's no accountability in or even talked about, like, oh, we made a big mistake, we're sorry. Give me one story on the national news where that's a thing, and my position on this changes overnight. Like, okay, we're doing this accountability, we are making sure we're precise with this. It's
Or
just
the use of excessive force too, like having those officers,
It just
like,
that's the accountability side of it. It's just
Yeah.
if that was a emphasis, like even on Trump, if he said we are going out, we are making sure this is happening, I would feel so much better about it. But there's this weird blanket where there's just like, get as many as you can. This is a number game. This is not a quality game. This is a number game. That's what bothers me. I think they've missed that communication. That's why it's getting so bad. He's losing on the border now. His border approval rating is starting to go down because of these events. He's got to make a change there, or else this is going to come back to bite him on the midterms. He's got to do something about this, at least in the messaging wise.
Well, and the
Probably.
the elephant in the room of it all is also that it stokes racism in the country. I mean, I'm just gonna call it out for what it is. Like, if you agree if legal or if they're in the country or not, but they are targeting people of different skin colors. Like when they are asking people if they are like, show me your identification, they are profiling people. And when you are the president of the United States and that is something that you support, even if that's not your intention, which I don't know what Trump's intention is, even if that's not your intention, that is the messaging you are passing to the rest of the country that this is okay. And that's, I feel like, a big part of being the president is sending the correct message to the citizens of the United States. And I think that is wrong. These people are just being profiled and asked if they're U.S. citizens because they're brown or a darker skin color than the white people. And I think
Which
that's
is interesting
wrong
if
as well.
like Russia and China are our biggest adversaries. You'd think that they'd be like targeting like whatever Russian people look like and Chinese people. My sense is that it's mostly like Somalians and South Americans that are being like that's what I see more on social media, which is kind of interesting. But yeah, I do agree
Those
with
are
you
large
that it
populations
seems
in the United
targeted
States.
by those populations.
Well,
Yeah.
Somalia just
I
specific to
think
Minnesota. They have a lot of Somalian immigrants.
which is wild.
Well,
Like,
they had a lot of
however that
immigration.
happened,
In terms of immigration, when they accept people into countries, a lot of states will like accept, or other countries like on the rest of the world, they UN or the EU like has a quota of like each country has to accept a certain number of immigrants. Certain countries, and I imagine the United States is similar, where it's like we accept like this portion of immigrants, you're gonna come to like our area. And especially if you are an immigrant, you're gonna want to go to an area with a community of like-minded people or of people with similar cultures, so you can ingratiate yourself. Like in boroughs in New York, when people came to America, like they created neighborhoods of people there that they recognize, the people that they communicate with best. That's why they ended up in Minnesota.
Diaspora. That's the word I tried to
diaspora,
use the
yeah.
other day for a group of people coming from an original country. They find their diasporas, and Minnesota just happens to be the Somali one. So a ton of people just from Somalia, to go to Minnesota, basically.
Australia has a huge Macedonian diaspora.
California has a
It's a sick
ton of
word.
Asian immigrants.
I learned that word only like
Yeah,
a couple years ago.
San Francisco area. I think okay,
pretty unfortunate they picked Minnesota of all the states you could go to. I mean, that is you think I'm going to America, I gotta accept it. It's gonna be amazing, and you show up and it's -20 and there's 5
Our
feet of
Minnesota
snow.
viewers are gonna hate you, Austin.
We've just
That's
lost a whole
slander.
one viewer, maybe.
the Somalians love us.
Yeah,
we
we
just
actually
gained a bunch
huge.
of Somali viewership.
This to me rings very true and similar to a lot of the taco, like Trump always chickens out stuff with the tariffs and the way that he's handling Greenland. It seems more like he's used immigration as a way of saying cities and states who is going to be with me and who is going to be against me. And I will use your decision on this matter to determine if I will use force against you or not, to take control. And I think that's what he's trying to do internationally. And I think that's what he's trying to do through immigration, which for me, I think is a genuine problem. But the way that he's doing it and the reason why I think he's doing it and how he's doing it are all wrong. So, but I think it's more of that, like another Cassius Belli sort of thing, like who's on my team, and if you're not, then I'm going to come.
And
fight you.
same thing with
one way to do
companies.
it.
Same thing with companies, yeah.
I don't know. I think there's what was it, the Rand Paul thing you sent, Austin? Was that you that sent that video of Rand Paul and
Paul and
Rogan
Joe
and like
Rogan.
his approach to it? I
Yeah.
was like, I kind of agreed with that. It was like, he's like, if you are a citizen or you're not a citizen, but you've been in the United States for a long time, you are not a criminal, you have no criminal record, and you've been helpful, you've been a part of society, you've been working, you've been spending your money, you've been paying taxes. You aren't a citizen, but you're kind of grandfathered in. Like you're in the country. You don't get necessarily the rights of a citizen, but hey, you've been here. If we never have found you, it's essentially the same thing. Like you just would have been living your life as a non-citizen, but now we know who you are. We know that you're not harming the country in any way because you're not a criminal, and you just stay. And then anybody else
You
who's
should
trying to
apply
come
for
in,
citizenship.
yeah, and you can apply for citizenship just like anybody else. It's like, why is that a problem? Like, why was it citizens that are not citizens?
think-
Sorry, illegal aliens that are causing no problems in our society are productive parts of society, and many times immigrants are more productive than a lot of born American citizens because they're mostly entrepreneurs because they have to build their own businesses. If they're a productive part of society, how is that a problem? Is it because the law says it? Because laws are changed all the time. Is it just because the law says that they're technically not a citizen, that we need to kick them out, even though they're productive?
I think from a national security standpoint, if you're going to go to war with a country and you have citizens who are like that nationality, then even if those individual people are good people who have been here for 20 years, if they have family back home at the country that now you are like bombing, then those people could become aggressors or like agents for people back home, people who have never been violent. Now you're at war with their country. I think that's the standpoint that you have to take, even though maybe that's only like 0.01% of that population. The fact that there are ties to a country that you are at war with, I think, is why it becomes a bigger issue for national security.
But you becoming a citizen changes none of that example you just gave. If that Somalian followed the path and became a citizen, they still have family in Somalia. They're still here. There's no difference.
I guess that's true. Yeah.
You would
I
have
guess that's
record
true.
of them, technically.
And then in
I
the
think
Rand
there's-
Paul case, it's like, okay, you know where these people are. You know they're not
Okay.
that they're not causing trouble. You know their history, and they're just let them be here. I just don't understand why we're yanking people out of homes and deporting them if
You
they're
just can't be
productive
here
parts of society.
like in secret.
Well, the real crazy thing is that we use census data to assign congressional seats, and census data counts people and not citizens. Think about how crazy that is.
But they can't vote.
So we give, right, but we give more Congress people to areas that have more illegal people because the census says that there's more people
Yeah,
there.
it's bodies, essentially. Like, how many bodies are in this home? So they
But how-
they get the count off of that.
That's true. But
So if there's 20, so if 20, let's just say for fun, like it's not this much, but say 20% of California is illegals. Census counts, there's 100 million people there. They're going to get assigned congressional seats based on the fact that there's 100 million living people in the state. But then only 80 million of them are actually eligible voters. So where you have higher proportions of illegals in different states, they're being given more representation because they're getting representation based on the number of people, not off the number of people eligible to vote.
You can go down a nasty conspiracy hole with stuff like that. You know, like nasty conspiracy hole with the Biden administration. I don't think it's true, like that that they left the border open just to raise counts in these. Because when was the census actually? 2020, right? Was that the last? It's every 10 years. So maybe
100% it was. It's not even that big of a conspiracy leap to take.
It's pretty gnarly. They got to fix that system. I think it's a laziness thing, honestly. Just figure out a better way to do it.
Doesn't Trump and the Republican Party entirely winning every seat or every branch of the government refute that? The fact that
they weren't successful, but it doesn't mean they didn't try. And it doesn't mean that it hasn't been like a thing.
It
that's
clearly
been
isn't a large
happening
enough impact to matter then.
Obama. Yeah, but eventually it's such razor thin elections that you could sway an election at some point in history because of this.
Yeah, how was that have to do
Like
at
that's
all?
crazy that you can't. But will you agree that that's crazy that we assign congressional seats based off?
Well, yeah, I mean,
where like census data.
I mean, yeah, I don't know. I didn't know they did that. I didn't know how they assigned it other than I guess a population. I guess that's how you would do it. I don't know. How else would you assign it?
Well, it should be population. I'm fine with being population if it's population of U.S. citizens.
Yeah,
not just
they could do
overall
that.
population.
I don't see any problem with
They
that.
should do that.
But the
Democrats
would never allow like.
But these are
it's
all
kind of, yeah.
These are all estimates.
Census data,
it's
government
estimates,
census data.
right? And but like also then there's like plenty of gerrymandering to decide each district anyway. So they break it up by whatever demographic population they want. So it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. I agree that
But it does
crazy.
because it could sway the amount of congressional seats in a state.
But isn't the congressional district decided by the map that they decide, not the number of people necessarily? The people is the representation total.
Two separate things.
Okay.
Like Indiana gets, I don't know how many Congress people because of our population. then you gerrymander to split those people up into their districts.
So that just means certain
This is
states
saying-
might have more influence, but it doesn't necessarily
Which
mean
is
one
a-
more
but
party over the other necessarily.
yeah, but in a state like California, where everyone's a Democrat, and you
Well,
could
not everyone's a
put
Democrat
more
in
people
California.
in there.
There tends to be a larger
95%.
Democratic population, but there are Republicans that live there too.
The point is, if you can dump as many people into that state, right, you now got yourself more Congress people. And therefore, you have a higher likelihood of that congressperson being elected as a Democrat. And then, therefore, Democrats have a higher likelihood of having a majority.
Okay.
Same could be true for, because if they get one, someone else loses one. So the same could be true for a Republican state.
So it could be true. So like, I don't
But
know.
the problem is,
This is so unrelated to my point though, of like allowing people to stay in the country. Because if you still shut down the border, that problem doesn't exist. Like, I think we're on the same side there of agreeing that like you shut down the border. If Trump truly, if that's what his intention is, shut down the border, nobody else is coming in, that's not a problem.
But let people who are here stay if they
but let people stay.
themselves.
Yeah,
correct.
I
What
think
I
those
was
are two
saying is
different
let
arguments.
people stay, but we can't be assigning congressional district count off of where those people that we allow to stay don't get rights of citizens.
Yeah, I thought that's what we agreed. Yeah,
In that they
that
don't
was
get
the
to, like,
Rand
go
Paul
vote.
thing. Yeah, that was the Rand Paul thing. Is like they aren't citizens, but they're grandfathered. Like any other grandfathering of anything. Just kind of you're there. You're not getting the U.S. citizen rights. You could apply for citizenship and go through the process just like anybody else, or maybe not. I don't know if it matters, but like I don't think uprooting people is the right way when they're productive parts of society. And if we want to keep them and then change the way you assign congressional districts to citizens, I'm fine with that. I agree with you there. I think that's totally fine. Like they're U.S. citizens. We should for basing any sort of election should be based on people who can vote and who are represented. I don't see a problem with that. That's too rational though, I think, for
I think that
people to
would be
get
a
behind.
huge fix. I don't know
Yeah,
how
there
we
should be
got.
two censuses. There should
I
be
don't know how
a
we figured that
people
out. but-
census and then a Congress determining census. Like
Well,
an
it was
American
probably
citizen
reasonable.
census and a regular census.
It was
I need to
probably
figure out like where that even came from. Like who thought it was reasonable in the beginning. I guess we didn't know who all was actually citizens. Maybe in the beginning. I don't know.
Much harder back then.
probably because until someone decided that let's make it a point, like it didn't matter. Like they probably were just like we're just representing the people in the nation, and then someone made it a point
That are
that
here.
that it's a big difference that if you're here versus being a citizen. At whatever point that happened, someone made it a big deal, and then that's why it's now an issue, right?
And I don't think we'll ever get it changed, unfortunately.
No, when it comes
That
to
brings us
voting,
to today.
Stop.
nothing's gonna change. The parties like exactly what they have. They
We
both have
solved
lots
voting
of power.
like an hour and a half ago. We already solved voting.
So true.
That's right. Did solve voting. True. You'll just have your citizenship. Your passport will be tied to your chip. So
I think we're
It'll
saying a
all be
lot of the same
And
things.
they can change your citizenship with a button. Solves that bottleneck issue. Everybody gets it. GPS time greater than 10 years in the States, boom, citizen.
You just have to play hide
Yeah.
and seek for 10 years. Citizen. Congrats.
all right. Well, was there any other topics any other news stories that we didn't talk about
We covered a lot
that
of
have
stuff.
been
Talked about IU, talked about Venezuela.
gnawing at you?
There was Venezuela, there was Greenland, there was, I guess, Austin, did you watch Davos today? I just saw the random Trump clips. I didn't actually watch any of it.
I watched his speech this morning, and interestingly, Air Force One took off late last night, got over the Atlantic, and had to turn around due to a minor electrical issue.
Mm.
So he had to get on the smaller plane that
Wonder if it had
became
anything
Air
to do
Force One.
with the power level X solar flare from a couple days ago. Knocked out his systems.
I don't study the solar flares like I imagine you do. It doesn't surprise me that you know about the solar flares.
It was in the doc. It was in the it was in the 10-page report that we put together.
Davos is it is fun. I guess we didn't. Yeah, Davos is sort of where this whole idea came from for a symposium back years ago. It's you know what's crazy? The pivot that Davos has had. You don't hear a word about climate change anymore. And that used for like 10 years, that is all they talked about was climate change. That's where you got like the Greta Thunberg, how dare you meme. That was at Davos. Like, she used to be paraded around there. That not a word about climate change this year. It's all about actually coal and more power and like.
It's all about
Did you know on
which
January
groups in power,
20th,
right?
Did I know
on
about
January 20th, UN said that we entered an era of global water bankruptcy. That was yesterday. There's some climate
Not
news
good.
for you.
A 2060 bingo
Bankruptcy.
card, lack of fresh water is a very easy bet if you want to make that. Maybe get a Kalshi thing going. Say will
this year?
global. No, I'm saying in 2060.
We should
There's
have
some
started
global
our
water
own
crisis.
Kalshi. We should start our own Kalshi bets for all.
Well,
of our
I was kind of thinking,
predictions.
how do you get into that? Do we have to
Yeah.
get to know Baron? Does he run
Yes.
Kalshi?
Baron
I don't
He's
know
on
if he
it.
sets them. That's interesting.
2025 was the third warmest
think-
year on record globally. Did you guys know that?
It's like I'm reading from this
Better than the
paper whether you
first or the
guys like it or
second.
not.
No, it's just it was interesting how like the whole thing has pivoted.
Yeah.
And the conversation's completely just about AI now and
Media's
power
corrupt.
and world.
They control the narrative.
It's whoever's in power controls the narrative, right? So, I mean, it was the same with like DEI was a big thing, and now every corporation's moving away from DEI because Trump said we don't do that anymore. Same with like he doesn't support climate change, so climate change is dead, and that's not what we're focusing on. Now it's natural energy, and it's using coal and burning fossil fuels and AI because that's what's important to him, and so it's going to be what people do. I mean, look at what every one of those top executives of these massive corporations did when Trump became president. They all went and got on their knees and bowed down at the White House and just supported every sort of initiative that he wanted because none of them have backbones. They're all spineless. They all kind of just want to stay in power.
They have to go shareholders. Their only job is the
All
shareholders.
comes back to the dollar.
Yeah, you're right. Their fiduciary obligation. Oh, there's an interesting about
Right.
fiduciary obligation. I want to ask you, this is the other thing that's kind of big in the news that we haven't talked about, and this is more business related. The Paramount versus Netflix merger for Warner Brothers. That's not one we've talked about,
That's a
but
great topic.
it's very interesting because that kind of comes down to the question of fiduciary obligation. So it's up to the fiduciary obligation, which Justin, you've always pushed back on saying like it doesn't make a lot of sense because you should be able to consider what's best for the company, not just what's best for the bottom dollar, right? So in this case, Netflix has offered less money than Paramount to acquire Warner Brothers. It's a little bit different because Netflix doesn't want the whole shebang. Netflix just wants the streaming, I believe, portion of Warner Brothers. They don't want the CNN or whatever they have. They don't want all the extra. They don't want the old media. They just want the new media, right? And so it's slightly different offers. But Paramount is offering a lot more money. And so if you are, who's the president of Warner Brothers?
David Zaslav.
Yes, David Zaslav. Thank you. If you're David Zaslav, do you have the fiduciary obligation to sell to Paramount because they are offering way more money than Netflix? Or do you, as the CEO and president, could you argue that the fiduciary obligation is to the long-term success of the corporation by saying Netflix is top in this industry, Paramount is an old name. Paramount is behind the game. Netflix is leading the industry. If we sell to Netflix long term, our stock will boom versus short term, it might be better for Paramount because they offer more money. Where does the fiduciary obligation lie in that situation?
Well, I would say and I don't remember if the Netflix offer is cash or stock.
I think they just upped
If
it to
it's a
cash. It's
cash
like 84
offer-
billion.
If it's cash, I would say that you would have a hard time if you have two cash offers. You'd have a hard time making an argument against taking a lower offer because you're effectively saying like we're dissolving this company and all of its shares and we're paying you out in cash. So you couldn't really say like there's a better long-term value for the shareholder because the shareholder is just getting cash. And I don't know about if there would be it would go to a court, like there would be a lawsuit it would go to court. And I
They're
don't know
suing right now.
what level of court would decide this, but they would have to in some way have very, very good reasoning or evidence to believe that their decision was actually in the best long-term interest of the company, or not even the company, of the shareholder. And I think that's really hard. Will be really hard to prove.
Yeah, it's very hard to prove.
You chose to take a lower offer.
Paramount has sued Warner Brothers. They have sued them for basically transparency in the deal and saying like, why is this basically kind of what you're saying is like, we know you have fiduciary obligation to your shareholders. So in this case, how is this, you have to show us that you have clear documentation that this is a better offer, because they're not one for one, since they're buying different parts of the company.
Yeah.
One wants it all, one doesn't. So it's very interesting.
Well, it's also the other interesting point in this is, you know who owns Paramount? Larry Ellison.
Yes.
So this would be further building up the media war chest of the Ellison family,
Mm-hmm.
who also happens to be friendly with the administration.
Very friendly,
so you wouldn't
and
probably
Netflix
have
is
an
not.
antitrust problem. So I do think that, yeah, whoever gets it, like I don't think, like Trump would not put up I think Biden or another president would probably potentially put up a fight against the Ellison family buying also Warner Brothers. But
now, can you take
I doubt they'll
political
have that problem.
bias into your fiduciary obligation for the shareholder? If you say Larry Ellison is cozy with
No.
the administration would be bad for the company. Could you say, I'd rather be with Netflix because they don't cozy up with the administration?
I think the only argument they could have had, which they can't use anymore, is we believe that selling to this higher offer will never pass antitrust law or
Yeah,
or wherever it goes. And so instead of taking the shareholder through that whole years-long experience, we're going to sell to this slightly lower offer because we believe that it would not face that scrutiny. I don't know if that's happened in the past or not, but like, no, you have to just maximize shareholder value, and that so it doesn't, the political ramification doesn't matter.
But what if,
Like, even if it's
what if that tanks
even
stock?
if it means like the won't, because they're offering a cash offer to buy all the shares at a fixed
I thought
price.
Paramount's was stock. I thought they were buying the stock. No?
Well,
be
if they
wrong.
are using stock to buy it, it's at the equivalent of a set price. So like the Paramount shareholder then has or the Warner Brothers shareholder has the decision to continue being a shareholder in Paramount or to sell their shares.
Isn't it typically up to the shareholders what, like, if they accept a deal or not?
The board, I don't know, like the
Board of
rule. I mean,
directors.
ultimately the board will vote on it. So the shareholders elect the board of directors.
So it's a democracy
yeah.
anyways. Like you voted these people in. So I think it's another call to arms situation for Trump is like either accept the horse that I'm backing or choose the other guy who's not, Netflix, who's not on my team. And it's the shareholders of that company that is ultimately like choosing what side they want to be on. Maybe you could frame it that way.
But
Or maybe it's more just on the business side of things and not so political.
it's a representative democracy just like ours. So, I mean, you have people that were offered up as candidates, and usually when it comes to these boards of like massive corporations, it's usually people they know and like people that they're tight with. Like these are the people I want on my board. And then
like
the shareholders just vote on it. Like, sure, that sounds good. So most of the time,
you're
they're
not
gonna
able to
decide.
get stock.
Yeah. You own
get
one
board
share.
seats.
BlackRock owns,
So if you
shares.
become a large shareholder, often you get board seats, and then you put your own friends on that board to influence what the company does. It's ultimately the banks who are in control of most of the companies, the public companies, because they own the majority of those shares. And I think by default, then it's the dollar and
Not to say you still can't sue them though. Boards get sued all the time. I mean, so
That'd be interesting. As
Bed
a
Bath & Beyond
consumer,
board
though,
should be sued.
purely as a consumer, who would you rather have own Warner Brothers? Because I would pick Netflix 10 out of 10.
Netflix.
10
So I
times
don't
out of
have to
10.
add a different.
Netflix.
Paramount
Granted,
fucking
my
sucks.
my Netflix price is going to go up. And I
True.
hate streaming prices going up.
You'll have to bundle. Yeah, you'll just be part and add to the bundle, and it'll.
Well, it'll
I mean,
probably
Guys,
be.
there's
It probably won't be a
gonna have
separate
to
thing.
get contact with your guy, Matt. Your little stick. You got a little special stick for
Huh?
TV?
Me? What are you talking about?
Don't you have a guy who provided something for you where you can
Not for me.
look at channels
Oh.
for free?
That was Dan.
Who was that?
You got
Who was
a
it?
jailbroken Fire
Dan?
TV or
It's
something.
Dan.
Was Dan?
Dan
Okay,
has
maybe
it.
Dan was saying that.
It's someone
Those things
it's
wig me
someone we
out.
mutually
You know
know.
they're tracking
but,
everything you watch.
I don't have it, but he has it. Yeah, but yeah, I would love. I mean, I would love it if Netflix had it because I feel like HBO has gone downhill majorly and it's too expensive. So I'd way rather have Netflix, who's like an actual good streamer. Paramount is the worst fucking app out there. I hate Paramount so much. They also don't produce
Not
that
a
many
good
good movies
experience.
anymore. Maybe I'd actually buy Netflix then. So they got my vote.
What else? Spotify raised their price again, Justin, for the 3rd year in a row.
Spotify has
Just
one of
wanted to
my
let you
highest
know.
thresholds of I'm paying money for Spotify. To be fair though, I've heard improvements with Apple Music. So, once it gets, what are they at? $14 now? No, they're up to 13, I think. $13.99. Once it gets up to like 16 or 17, I'll probably investigate Apple Music. Say like, all right, what are they doing? Have they improved since I last heard about them? But Spotify is by far my number one thing I pay for.
I'm with you there. I mean, if you like, even if you go by like the prices of old iTunes songs, it used to be $1 for every song. Like if we're spending $140 a
Yeah.
year, you think you only listen to 140 songs? Like I'm listening way more than that in 1 year.
Did you buy it and then you don't have to do it again? So you owned it, quote unquote, when you bought it. So
You listen to it 1,000 times.
You don't think you listen to
1,000 times.
140 new songs every year? I do. If you listen to a
That's an
whole
interesting
album,
point, though.
that's like 14 songs and some, maybe 12. Let's say 12 songs, like a standard maybe album. Like I'd listen to probably 10
I
albums
guess, yeah.
a
I
year.
guess if you do that, if you listen to more than 144 new songs in a year, you're better off with Spotify.
Yeah.
I guess. If you don't branch out, you're probably better off for the old method.
With a CD player.
Yeah, CD player. That is not me. I listen to some crazy. That's why I know the AI music, man. I'm all over the place. I got 2 AI. I know are AI, and I don't think they call.
Have you
love
actually? Do you have you started listening to any AI artists, like where it's like known to be?
Oh yeah, I've got 2 artists that are. I
Send
am
a couple of those
85%.
Send a couple
Sure.
of songs in the chat.
Yeah. Okay.
Are they AI artists using AI, you mean? Or like it's just AI? Like it's an AI completely generated?
They just make the lyrics, and I think it's an AI like voice the whole time.
Okay.
So it's like doing what Sam did for our intro song.
Correct, but they
And then
they
putting it
might
on
have more
Spotify.
influence on the beats and stuff like that. They're not singing. I guarantee they're not singing.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I've noticed that
So
in a
this
couple
is-
of commercials on TV. Actually, like that song is 1,000% an AI song, like sung and performed.
This is what
TurboTax,
this is
that's
what I'm
the-
saying. This
that's
is
the
where you're gonna
instigator.
have a little fat Saudi man in his basement, and you think that you're on OnlyFans with Sydney Sweeney, but it's really him in some sort of full body suit and every movement she makes.
If you're going
That's
to
the
the
world we're
internet for
living in.
your sexual pleasures, like, do you care though?
I don't know. That's gonna be the interesting experiment. Is do you care?
It's a
Yeah,
sweaty old
really.
man.
It's not real anyways.
If it's a real
like,
person
you know
or
that
not.
person
Yeah.
isn't your person, so like, do you care? Probably not.
Yeah.
Simulation.
Interesting.
Well, there'll just be an extra layer of like a higher tier of payment for
What
like
celebrity
the
do you
verified
want?
version.
person.
We'll have to get the World Eye coin in order to unlock the different skins.
You have to be
Or
an
that'll
adult
be-
actress. You'd have to
God.
get
Yeah.
world ID'd. That would be crazy. That's a whole other industry we didn't even talk about for that.
Did you guys see they
Or
showed a
I mean,
porn
that
star?
is another.
Did you guys see they showed
I saw
flashed
that
a
in the
porn
Miami
star at
game.
the IU Miami game?
I
saw that
just
on her
I keep
Twitter.
seeing these. I keep seeing.
Yeah.
Well, I keep seeing pictures of her, and I saw it during the game, but I didn't know who she was.
She's a porn star. They like just flashed to her face.
Wow.
ESPN really quickly.
I
And
had
they're
no
like,
idea.
I saw it all
Yeah.
over Reddit afterwards, the college football Reddit. Everybody's
Yeah,
like,
that's what I
every
saw.
dude looking at his wife, making sure she didn't see that you recognized him.
Here she is. Abella Danger issues apology over viral ESPN appearance at Miami national
Apology.
title
What
game.
does she have to apologize for? The
Why is
cameraman.
she
Why did she
issuing
Just
apologize?
for
apology?
existing, for going to a game.
She said, I would give anything in the world to not have had ESPN film me, and I'm so deeply sorry to anyone I offended with my attendance at the game.
Okay,
Interesting.
dude.
That was her PR
That's-
I wish I
team.
She
could
did
be
not
any
need to
other
do that.
student supporting
Yeah.
my team. Oh, she goes to Miami. She's a student.
She's a porn star. She goes to Miami.
Wait, but it also says while leaving Hard Rock Stadium, the 30-year-old broke down in a video shared on her Instagram story.
She's a third-year porn star.
30.
She's a 30-year-old
Third-year senior.
third-year student
Third-year senior.
porn
Decided to
star.
go to college with the money she made. Nothing wrong with that.
Well, that was like the Carson Beck thing. They were like, "Did you have class this week?" He's like, "I've been graduated for 2 years."
that
Oh,
was
yeah.
crazy. It's like,
Awesome.
brother,
This
you
is
gotta
Living in
say
the,
it to
Miami.
a couple.
Dude, I graduated like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
this is the amateurism we're looking for. And we've come full circle.
All right. Well,
Yeah,
come full
good
circle back to
episode.
college football.
Who?
Just like
World
that.
coin, yeah, all the way back to college football. It was who? Wait, what?
Who?
Randy loves hearing I who I you.
I never heard that one.
You?
Me neither.
It's
I don't
only a
know that
Matthew
joke.
thing. He's the only person I've ever heard say it.
I've started this chant. It was at the IU Michigan State football game. I came up with it. I tried to get the crowd to support it.
Did people
they were
do it?
not on board.
Proud Red Hawk, he screams,
The
IU.
au-
All right, everybody, that's going to do it for episode number 18 of Symposium. It was a good one, a long one. Hopefully you've stuck around till the very end. There's Matthew rejoining us. He couldn't quite stick around to the end, but if you made it 2.5 hours into this show, man, do we appreciate you. It was fun to kind of get caught up on some of the latest current events. Make sure that none of our opinions are left to be only in our heads. We need all of our opinions to be out and recorded in the world, just in case. So
Hold us accountable.
that's
To be
right.
used against us when we run for office.
Yeah.
That's right.
And to be recreated as AI bots.
To be recreated as
That's
an AI
right.
and as our insurance policy that we will not be able
That's
to run
right.
for
A
office.
triple threat.
Yeah. So with that, you boys have anything else to say as we sign off? Cheers all around. Look at that. All right. Well, go IU. National champs all the way until next season. I'm already thinking about next season. We're going to run it back, and make sure you like, subscribe, share the show, send us an email, symposium574@gmail.com, and tell 7 friends about us. And we will see you next time on episode 19.
I didn't
See
mean
you
to do that.
later.
See you guys.
We've been talking since the 5th grade, and somehow we've got more to say. Beat kicks and faster rhythm. Inflation's high, the game's too steep. Stream wars rage while we lose sleep. Big tech's wild, the Fed's a mess, but let's start a party, I guess. Symposium, where tangents thrive. Old friends talk and the takes collide. Symposium, no wrong or right. Just good conversation deep into the night. Yeah, we're still talking.